I can't let you do this. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be the same. Oh boy, there's gotta be more to this. Just tell me that I'll hold you in my arms again. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now, is hold you now, is hold you now.
Ain't no party like a house. Ain't no party like a house.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the BOL Platinum Division. We are here with a playoff matchup between XG Lightning and TE Abyss, and we are here with a little bit of a substitute in the color casting position. It's Yanni coming on through from Masters to bring us fantastic content. Although we do miss Shibby, we will always miss Shibby.
Listen, you and I both miss Shibby a lot, but bit of a substitution, but not an unfamiliar face here last week for what became a very infamous best of five. So hopefully, while you guys have the BOL Platinum Baron throws, I hopefully don't have the BOL best of five disqualifications.
Yeah, we may not have the BOL Baron throws tonight. At least I always hope that we do not have the BOL Baron throws tonight. I know I have the BOL bathroom woes right now, so apologies if I feel a little bit off on the cast. Trying my best over here. We're pushing through some severe intestinal distress as we see XG Gaming and TE Abyss pushing through the ban phase. Rumble Mordekaiser denied by XG Lightning, while TE Abyss have knocked out my boy Milio, which I'm kind of sad to see.
Listen, I just want to know what happened to draft law, man. Like,
I know.
like it broke and there's been no news on it. I went on Twitter, I looked under latest, and nobody's talking about it or anything like that. And I know people use draft law a ton, so it's a bit of a throwback here to go into the pro draft. But you see some very common bans, although Misfortune, the one blank ban right now. Milio has been just one of the most disgusting champions. You can pair it up with a lot of those 80 carries that really like playing with the likes of Nami, and it's essentially a suitable replacement for that. Wukong getting taken off the board, no surprise. Probably one of, if not the best jungler in the game right now.
TE Abyss certainly banning out a lot of the power players. Kind of surprised to see the MF denied. That's not a champion that you see a whole lot of in the meta right now. It's just not really well suited versus the either very long range kind of sniper oriented picks of like the Aphelios, the Varus, the Jinx to a degree, but it also kind of struggles against some of the skirmishy style champs that have the mobility to get out of the way of the bullet time, such as the Kaisa. And these are all champions I'm naming out right now that certainly can be picked, as that is in fact a Jinx hover for TE Abyss, though. Meanwhile, XG Gaming, they started off with the B1 Sejuani of all things.
Yeah, Sejuani's such a fantastic pick still. I think it's pretty underutilized. Getting to be able to flex it into the top lane or into the jungle, and very strong in both roles, delivering really strong CC, a pretty good laning phase as well, because you get to go teleport Ignite, and the Jinx into it is a little sketchy, right? You have to be careful all of that Glacial Prison to come through.
Moving on with the draft phase, we're seeing a Cassante hover pretty early on. The thing is, I'm not really too torn up about it, because now for some reason, teams have kind of realized we could flex this mid and it works perfectly fine. So going for this still reserves the possibility of Abyss to counterpick top side of the map, especially if they want to see where XG Lightning puts the Sejuani.
I saw Cassante bot lane the other day.
What was it with? Was it
well.
with Senna? Or
I cannot remember what it was with for the life of me. All I know is I believe it was piloted by a Grandmaster player and they won. So I'm starting to worry that Cassante is becoming a triple flex, because I think that's probably a little too much. But XG Lightning go with the Gwen. This is your pretty standard response into Cassante, and that makes that Sejuani first pick even better, because now picking the Cassante means that you get to pick the Gwen into it and get a pretty nice counter going on there.
You know, I saw a Gwen piloted on the bot side of the map. It was with a gold player and they lost, but maybe it's the case that Gwen's becoming a double flex, maybe back to a triple flex if we start seeing it jungle once again. Probably not though, Yanni. I'll be honest, I think the Cassante is a little bit more viable in that kind of position. So now we're going to see what the response is going to be to the Gwen, but we also need to see what TE Abyss is going to do about the fact that that's a Jhin locked in with no support on the horizon just yet for XG Lightning.
Hey, listen, you're talking about playing Cassante and Gwen and any different role, man. When I was at LCS, I saw somebody play Viego bot lane in a rank game in the lobby of the hotel I was staying at. The Elo terrorist himself, the Elo demon, one might even call him. But we do see the Thresh get locked in here. A common pairing with Jinx, one of the strongest pairings, and not only that, Hook to be able to nail that Jhin during laning phase is huge. Against immobile 80 carries, Thresh is one of the best you can get.
What is more demonic, playing on hotel Wi-Fi or playing the Viego bot? That's the real question for you, Yanni.
I would say playing on hotel Wi-Fi, but that hotel's Wi-Fi was actually pretty king. Not gonna lie. Like,
that's why Riot picked it.
Yeah, well, I was what? You think I was in the Riot hotel?
Oh, I guess that's true. Well, yeah, I mean,
I mean, I wish I was in the Riot hotel, but
Look, man, you play Legacy. I don't know where your funds come from sometimes, so.
I work a regular day job. I'd like to cast and just cast with my life, but Hopefully
Yeah.
one day. But we're going to see a couple of Cup bans come in. Akshan and Fizz going to be taken off the table. I assume those are some picks of the players that are in this game. And the Wukong and Akshan right next to each other is tripping me out. Their splash arts are a little too perfect.
WTF, it's Wakshan. Yeah, I
Oh
definitely see
no.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, bro, it's kind of weird, but I don't know. It's tripping me out. I have an issue with it.
Yeah. Luckily, something that I'm seeing here that isn't tripping me out, but is making me very happy is a Jace ban. Frankly, I think that this is as much for TA Abyss as it is for XT Lightning. Nobody should be playing the Jace at this point in time. Sure, it's strong, but I don't think I've actually ever casted this champion winning a game below like challenger level.
Oh yeah, no, that never happens. Like, if you think it's gonna happen, it's really a fool's errand.
Swain denied by XG Lightning, and now TE Abyss are going to blind pick. Well, not necessarily blind pick, as I think this is probably just responsive to the Sejuani. But regardless, they're getting themselves the Hecarim. And look at that. This website actually has the adjusted splash arts. That's pretty impressive stuff.
And it's dope looking. Look at it. But I think this is a really strong pick from TE Abyss. They've got a nice little bit of engagement with Thresh Hook, with Kasante's third Q, but really that go button is something that they desperately needed, and Hecarim brings it big. You get to fear the Gwen even if she puts her circle down, right? So, you know, and Gwen is a squishy target. Like, people don't really think that because she gets to go immune, but she is really a squishy target if you can get to her. Hecarim, one of those champions that can cause a lot of problems for her.
Yeah, as does the Blitzcrank. I think that getting it over onto XG Lightning side makes a lot of sense, because now instead of putting woes onto something like a Gwen, you're putting woes onto the Jinx. I saw this exact match of the Blitzcrank versus Thresh yesterday, I believe, with Tiger 5-8 in Meta Shift. And what we saw there was that the Blitzcrank just does a lot more with their hooks. And because so much of Blitzcrank's power is indexed into that rocket grab, you start off fights a lot more effectively than Thresh, who's just kind of more all-rounded oriented. But sometimes you need that pointy kind of champion design to really push through Abyss's entire roster. And while I'm not seeing a whole lot of prime targets for the rocket grab besides the Jinx, certainly it is the case that if you do catch the 80 carry out of Abyss, they're going to kind of be up the creek without a paddle and without a whole lot of damage. Although the Camille is going to cut back against that and further convey the fact that TE Abyss are flexing that Cassante. It looks like it's Camille top into the Sedge or into the Gwen, and now we're going to have Cassante versus Corki of all things in the mid lane.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but pro draft, as we all know, is a problem sometimes. Apparently, this is a Victor.
I also said it was an Ari, and people want Zeri. So at this point,
yes, I don't actually know what it is. Apparently, Improvise is saying that that it's a Victor pick, but it is not the one on the team. So I don't know. We're gonna figure out what that pick eventually is. I'm assuming that it's going to be a Victor. But yeah, you mentioned it. Blitzcrank is one of the better picks into Thresh. Thresh is not actually that tanky. He doesn't start with any scaling armor, right? He just has his base armor. He has to get his armor out of those souls. So those early hooks and the early auto attacks that you can put down onto a Thresh really go a long way. If you're really good, you can land your hook in a mid dark passage and, you know, grab one of those targets and really just kind of ruin any sort of disengagement. And yeah, you know, sometimes you just get to start a fight in the mid game. This quirky pick though from XG Lightning is something that I'm not really sold on, right? I like the fact that you're getting a little bit of poke. I like the fact that you have a secondary engagement, right? When the Sejuani goes in and your Corki has the package, you can do a lot. But outside of that, I just don't really like the damage. It doesn't have that long of a range outside of the rockets, and it's not the greatest in terms of scaling.
This is the most Hegelian time as a flat circle draft I've seen in a while, Yanni. If it is in fact a Victor coming through, what we're seeing here is a draft that basically reflects exactly where we were about a year ago, where it was Victor Corki mid every single game. You had Jinx Aphelios bot. You had some more engagey-oriented supports for a while before they backslid into irrelevance, and then we saw the Enchanters come back out. It's a wild time on the Rift, man. Even the Gwen's coming through, although I think it was Gwen Jungle at that point.
It was Gwen Jungle at that point. It's crazy that I can't even remember if they intended Gwen to come in as a jungler or as a top laner, but they really cut that out quick. They were like, Gwen, you cannot play this role. We do not want you playing this role. It was pretty toxic, I must say. I like her much more. Yeah, I like her much more as a counter to these tank top laners because Cassandra is an overwhelmingly high amount of games where there are very high level players, and Gwen is really the one check to that. But even
Mhm.
then, sometimes the Cassandra just comes out on top in the end of the game. Sure, in the laning phase, Gwen's gonna do a lot, but Cassandra can just do so much to ruin things for the rest of your team. So, a really good piece of drafting by XG Lightning in the early half. Again, not as pleased with that mid lane Corki pick, but I think they can make it work.
Yeah. Certainly the top side of the map is something I'm going to be focusing on for blue side. Gwen is a champion that I used to absolutely loathe. I think that it was just the trauma of watching Zeus get obliterated on it in the final game of Worlds Finals last year. But I love the champ. I just always thought she was pretty bad in the solo lanes. I think that her real strong point was when she was able to jungle. The thing is, like, now she's kind of up against the monster of the Cassante, who has been very good since release in the top lane solo lane. And for as much as you're saying, like, yeah, Gwen can respond to these tanks quite nicely. We see them into the Scion a lot, actually. Cassante's a champion that isn't always a tank, right? When he ults,
Right.
he becomes a bruiser, and it's a lot more difficult for Gwen to do stuff when he's right on top of you.
Yeah, when he goes all out, he goes all out. And one thing to point out is that it is going to be a Victor lock-in. It's not that Camille that you may have saw on your screen. It is going to be that Victor. And Victor, great champion, does get outranged by Corki in terms of Corki's ability to throw the rockets. But when you're trying to get in more damage as Corki, Victor is the one that begins to outrange you at that point with that laser. Gets to cause a lot of problems. But this doesn't mean the TE Abyss composition has some problems. No, there are 3 really squishy, really immobile targets against a Blitzcrank.
Yep. And those are all great to grab. I actually kind of wished it was the Camille and then we had the Cassante bid, because it means that the Blitzcrank had far fewer options as to what to hook. But now, yeah, improvise, if they land those rocket grabs, and we've seen people who lock in Blitzcrank in competitive very much being able to land those rocket grabs, they're going to be a real terror on the Rift, man. That Victor could go down, the Jinx could go down, and now it's all up the Hecarim to do damage, and you really don't want the Cassante all outing in that kind of situation, right? Going and splitting the fight to even fewer in number for TE Abyss, so really got to watch out there. I think XG Lightning come through with some very, very strong picks, some probably comfort-oriented drafts as well, that Corki in particular, you keep harping on. I'm going to be a little bit softer with, just because we've seen the Corki-Victor matchup so many times, and oftentimes the Corki getting the better of the Victor. But yeah, this is quite an interesting way to start off this best of 5.
Yeah, and the good news for Abyss is if they've got their dancing shoes on, you can make this Blitzcrank nigh useless, right? If Victor, if Jinx, if Thresh can do a good job of avoiding those hooks or not putting themselves in those positions, well, now your team is much more useful because you have more utility coming out for the Thresh. So I like the pick in that sense. It's just always something very precarious. And Blitzcrank is one of those champions that you can just lose a game against by getting so far down in lane, especially if a Jhin gets these kills, right? It's not like a lot of these guys can get on top of the Jhin. It's just the Hecarim. Cassandra can get there, but it's going to take him a little bit. Jhin would have to be pretty heavily out of position. Thresh can certainly land a hook, but again, has to land that hook. So if this Jhin gets a couple of kills, is allowed to cook, he can really run over TE Abyss.
A lot to watch out for in this one. We're going to throw to a break to wait out the rest of the spectator delay, guys, but when we return, it's going to be for game number 1 between XG Gaming and TE Abyss here in the Platinum Division of the Blue Otter League. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division, and welcome to game number 1 between XG Gaming and TE Abyss. Seen, I think, a pretty standard start for a Blitzcrank, that being you're stacking on top of a few people, maybe looking for an invade, but TE Abyss are respecting it. They're dropping a ward, although it's immediately cleared out.
Yeah, and this is definitely going to be the feel out phase of the game for a little while, and I think at least quarterfinal match. Want to make sure that you go and not make any mistakes, especially in game one. It can really set the tone for the rest of the series. Both these teams fairly evenly matched on opposite sides of the divisions, and they both finished 5-2. They both were incredibly similar teams to each other throughout the entire season. XG Lightning finishing 12-7 in games. TE Abyss 11-6. Like these teams both have the same amount of points, similar kills per game, similar deaths per game, all within one. So should be a really tightly contested match.
All right, happy to see it, and I want that to start here. I don't want a stomp to start us off. I feel like we've inaugurated so many stomps over the past few days, Yanni, so here I want to see both of these teams using their scaling power, right? The Corki versus Victor is always going to go for the late game. It's going to be pretty gentle on both of them early on, so perhaps it's going to be up to jungler interference to really impact that side of the map. Also want to see the Blitzcrank put in work alongside Viper. Actually, when you look at these two compositions, they're pretty similar as well, man.
Yeah, all of them are really similar. You get your CC out of your jungle. You have your scaling mage in the mid lane. You've got potential hyper carries in the bot lane, 2 hook champions, and then 2 champions that are just going to go toe-to-toe in the top lane. And that's really where your big difference is. It is this Gwen and Cassante, right? They are 2 very different champions. Gwen's certainly with much more carry potential, but doesn't mean Cassante can't carry a game or two.
Yeah, I played against a Cassante that, had 20 kills, and that basically was impossible to deal with. So certainly any of these champions have the ability to carry if they have a ton of gold on them. Maybe barring Improvise and Viper, who really just kind of have to land their hooks at the right time to be the carries of the team, and that's also definitely possible. We'll have to see exactly how Blue and Red's going to want to angle against one another early, as Sejuani can get out there and gank quite a bit. Hecarim is usually looking to power farm through the first few levels, but at the same time has good counter gank potential because of their movement speed. Right now, it looks like all these lanes, as even as the teams are also pretty even, although that's going to be a hook landed onto Improvise, but they just walk straight forward. They know Phoenix Flare is here to wrap around, and even with the Ignite on top of them, the Blitzcrank's going to be able to back off, get away. Hi, I'm Jerky, maybe not so lucky. That's first blood over to the Sejuani.
And huge presence of mind there by Improvise to go and hook the Jinx. They could have just decided to pour everything into the Thresh and get that guaranteed kill, but I like the fact that they went after that Jinx because not only A, is it a bigger impact death, but B, it did give an opportunity to potentially take 2 there.
Definitely the case, yeah. Viper gets to safety, but all the summoner spells gone on TE Abyss's side means that even if you don't get both kills this time, there's certainly the chance that you could do it again. XG Gaming have found a point of weakness on TE Abyss's side this early on into the match, and I imagine that Phoenix Flare is going to be paying many more visits down there.
Absolutely. It worked once. Why wouldn't it work again? The interesting thing is that Juice Box going, and they're able to get a dagger and boots. Nothing too crazy. There's no Ignite available in Improvise, so it could be a little while before we see any more deaths in the bot lane. But you can see, you saw Hecarim in the bottom side jungle taking away the chicken nuggets for a little bit there. I like at least getting some counter jungling in, but you want to really hit that level 6 now because Sejuani set the pace.
Well, Improvise has paid a visit to the mid lane. Rocket Grab just barely going to whiff on Elo Demon, who steps right outside of its effective range. Gets a little bit of poke on the way back in. And that signals that maybe Viper and High Am Jerky can put the gas on and push Juice Box into the tower.
Yeah, I like this roam there from Improvise, and that's really, you don't have too much pressure on the bot lane after burning all those summoners. So what's the next best thing? Just go out there, try to make a play happen. You burn the ghost out of that Victor, make him a little uncomfy because you saw that he was getting the push down onto Prim, and that's something that's to be expected. But look at this fight in the top side.
Neither of them are level 6, so K7 Show Off and Kartana are mostly just deep trading, as top laners are wont to do. And this time around, the Gwen is going to come out slightly ahead. That being said, Teleport is available for Cassante, and he's going to be able to return to the lane. Same cannot be said for Kartana, who had to use that reset earlier on. So perhaps this is the time for the Cassante to activate that Ghost and start running the Gwen down.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty solid time for that. I see them both opting into Ghost Teleport. You know, sometimes you'll see the Teleport Ignite, and you can see Show Off really want a piece of Cartana here.
Yeah, exactly what I was saying. That's a Pathmaker forward. Cartana at only about 300 health. Tofo strikes, knocks them back, and even with the Ghost activation, they will not be able to answer back against the power that this champion has. Level 6 has been crested, all out, not even needed.
Bonk, 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 straight to jail with you, Gwen. And burning that ghost so late, wanted to hang on to it for so long. Eventually, there comes a time where you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to die with it in my back pocket. But now, down that ghost means that Show Off, because they have the ghost advantage, you could see something very similar happen once Gwen returns the lane.
And while that play does happen topside in favor of TE Abyss, XG Gaming are using the priority bot to move in and get themselves a dragon. The UP is in the area, and they're backed up by Jerky and Viper, so Blue Squad has to be super careful about trying to get out of this one alive. Improvise, gonna use their hook down onto Hekra, who's sustaining quite nicely, will eventually fall to Phoenix Fire, but now with Elo Demon level 6 coming through, dropping a huge Chaos Storm down. Improvise, I don't think is gonna get out either, and so clean up for TE Abyss makes this very favorable.
Yeah, big stuff there. Remember, we talked about this mid lane matchup, how Victor can get the push, gets the push, has first move, is the reason why they're able to salvage that play despite the death on their end. Getting a 2-for-1 is not that bad. You know, your opponent gets the dragon, whatever. You get some big gold onto the Jinx and the Victor.
And I'd much rather have the gold on the Jinx and Victor rather than another kill onto Phoenix Flare, who, yeah, 2-1 on the Sejuani is pretty tanky, but there's so much sustained damage once you come in and come late on TE Abyss's side that if the Sejuani can't kind of work as an engager and then back off after the initial jump in with her Glacial Prison, we could be seeing a situation where those stats just don't really matter on that champion, and TE Abyss will find themselves very much ahead off of it.
Yeah, and I'd like to see Abyss make more plays like that. Get this Victor involved in the game. Now at level 7, you know, Ghost is actually a great thing to pop as you're going to make a gank happen. You can see Juicebox pushed up a lot, and it's a good counter on the other side here by XG. Sending Improvise into the mid lane. Again, making that Victor uncomfortable, trying to limit what he can do, right? If you send the Blitzcrank over, he's going to have to, Elo Demon's going to have to go back to tower, as opposed to being able to really go wherever he wants.
Right now, with Rift Herald spawning up, we aren't really getting a situation early where you're able to cross map, given that the first dragon has already go down. And that means that TE Abyss are pretty comfy with the way that the map is being controlled right now. Show Off has a gold advantage versus Cartana topside, although now they are getting run down by 3 members. They will be able to Pathmaker away, though. That Blitzcrank hook not landing, although now they are stuck with the Glacial Prison on top of them. Immediately, they activate the All Out, and they actually manage to kite to safety. Cartana even uses a charge of their Needlework trying to take this champion down, but no dice there. A lot of resources kind of overcommitted by XG Gaming top.
Yeah, I was going to say, they burnt so much there, right? So Phoenix Flare going to lose a little bit of gank ability while that ultimate is down. The thing is, though, by moving Improvise up, that does mean that they're able to start up the Rift Herald. Although you see multiple pings on it, Viper on his way, Yuppie on their way as well.
All right, and this may be exactly what we saw at the Dragon, and now UP has the Onslaught of Shadows. They're going to use that to get the fear off. Blitzcrank already dead. Phoenix Flare ticked low by the Super Mega Death Rocket and blown up. That's 2 more kills flowing over to TE Abyss. And XG Gaming really need to drop their level of proactivity right now because they are losing members every time they try to make a move on this map.
And this is the problem with the Corki pick. I hate to keep harping on it. You can see him even get hooked here.
Yeah, we'll try to Valkyrie away, is still slowed up by the gravity, and now with the Ignite dropped on top of this champion, even as he flies by the tier 2 tower, he will not be able to make it to safety, and meanwhile, the Elo Demon is able to just take the Lantern back into the middle of the lane.
Did you call him the Elo Demon?
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm just stepping over words today. My body is fighting against me, and my tongue is along for the ride.
I'm sorry, I hated to do that. I was just like, am I mispronouncing it or something? But I don't know, but a nice play there by Viper, and we did talk about how Thresh can be a lot more useful than Blitzcrank at times, and you're seeing it here. This is Viper making a lot of these big plays, that big roam to force Prim back and force them to have to take the wave or have a late move up to that Rift Herald. It's all of these little things, and it's a big reason why TE has a lead right now. They're rolling, they're looking real good.
It's only about 1,000 in Red Squad's favor, and that does kind of indicate that right now XG Gaming are doing a good job getting a few plates, especially bot side of the map. We see 2 of them have already gone down in favor of Juice Box. And that's pretty surprising given the fact that Improvise seems to be the one with a lot of first mover advantage as the support. But yeah, this is not necessarily the most dire of straits for XG Gaming, but I certainly want to see them kind of bounce back in terms of their macro shot calling when it comes to these neutral objectives. Maybe they need to get a pick before this next dragon comes up.
Don't want to be that guy to continue to criticize boot choices, as I'm sure you remember from our earlier cast just about an hour ago. But another pickup of boots by this Thresh this time, going for plated steel caps as opposed to anything else for roams. A little confused, I'm not gonna lie.
Versus literally anything else that would have been better. I don't know. I think that Viper probably has just kind of given up the priority on roams over to Improvise. They're just looking to dominate this lane a bit more, get some gold back over to Jerky, who certainly needs to stay and farm a bit more as they are down quite a bit of CS versus Juicebox, and that's being reflected in the gold score, even as the kill count ticks over in favor of the Jinx, right? And while that does mean that TE Abyss may have to sit back a little bit more after some very big plays got kills over to their carries early, I'm not too torn up about it, and they will certainly act as a nice frontliner once we get to the mid game. But yeah, Moby's I think has actually kind of been the choice that we see the most on the Thresh right now.
You see that Riftchild getting dropped in the bot lane. Doing a good job there is XG Lightning to be able to go pick up that Drake. Now 2 Drakes for them, and they're starting to progress pretty nicely with that. We're going to see Hextech Drake coming up next. So will they be able to put more pressure on is the question. I tend to think that they will. They're doing a good job of at least securing these objectives.
Abyss really haven't been able to do much besides play responsively to when neutral objectives are up. And yeah, while that paid off really nicely on the top side of the map with the Rift Herald, the thing is, elsewhere, when XG Gaming are still kind of forcing things and just playing off of vision, it does mean that we see Blue Squad, I think, at relatively even power with TE Abyss for as much as Blue Squad has overstepped. And I think that's where the real secret power of going for that objective-oriented game plan comes from. You kind of actually keep your cards close to your chest, conceal the extent to which you can actually go for duels and the like. And I think that that means come mid-game, we're still going to be seeing a very close matchup between these two teams.
Yeah, I'd like to see Abyss kind of spread their wings and flex a little bit more and, you know, start putting pressure on instead of playing reactive. And you can see first turret going down. It's first brick, by the way, that is headed over toward XG Lightning. So they're going to get a huge influx of gold and even take a small gold lead here in Yarko.
That's about 1,000 difference between Juicebox and Jerky now, and that means the Jinx is going to take a while to scale up. Yuppie kind of getting run down by Phoenix Flare, although the Flay and box back means this champion is locked up for quite a while. However, Kartana is covering the escape of the Sejuani nicely, and the Elo Demon may have stepped a little bit too far up. Chaos Storm is dropped, but they immediately get hit by the Rocket Grab and are brought back into the clutches of the Gwen, who now can push even deeper. Show Off trying to frontline here with the Pathmaker, gets a few members pretty low and near the clutches of the Tofo strikes, but TE Abyss can't push deeper. And that is going to be XG Gaming with a favorable play.
XG doing a fantastic job there to bail out their jungler and top laner. Improvise and Prim, an excellent job recognizing that Elo Demon had caught himself out by waffling around and trying to save his teammates, which he did a great job of. Put himself in a compromising position. As a victor, you're going to die every time.
I'm going to say something that's definitely going to boost the egos of XG Gaming, and I know that the Platinum players certainly don't need that help, but they kind of play like T1 in this early game. They're down on kills, but they remain even on gold, and then they find some aggressive plays that aren't necessarily coin flippy, but are like clearly demonstrative of relatively advanced macro and rotations that allows for them to get deep into enemy territory. They play off of a few overextensions by TE Abyss, and now they're comfortably ahead at this point in the game and ready to go for more picks off of Improvising Company.
Yeah, I must say I'm pleasantly surprised by the Platinum League playoff teams. Last week, I saw some pretty solid macro decisions. And so far here in Game 1, I've been like, okay, I see what I'm picking up, what they're putting down. There's a lot of sense to it. I like what's going on here. Again, I'm just not sold on some of this itemization. You see Victor get the Leandry's Anguish. Oh, look, I understand there's a Sejuani on the other side. Blitzcrank, it does not get that tanky. And you really want to be doing some serious damage to these squishy targets. I think kind of hurt them in that last fight.
Yeah, now the Elo Demon is hurting again as they're going to be rocket grabbed over the wall. Hayam Jerky able to defend for the time being by using those Flame Chompers, and Lantern gets the victor to safety, but they're at less than half health. Kartana gets hooked though, going to drop their W, tries to find the midst of 3, but they're all outed, and now they might be in a little bit of trouble. However, Phoenix Flare is covering them fantastically. Yuppie fires off their Onslaught of Shadows, but can't really get much of anything off the back of it, and now Viper is suddenly the last one left alive. The artillery fire from Juicebox has been immaculate. XG Gaming with another fantastic play near this mid lane. They get an ace at the 15-minute mark.
It's not exactly clean, Yarko, but you will take it. Juicebox and Prim shoving Jerky off, and then Juicebox able to close out on the kill meant that Prim decided, well, you know what? They're a little too far away. I get to cut in to the rest of this fight, even up the numbers, and that's where you saw it really turn. The main damage source of Abyss was just off the table.
And now this is going to be Rift Herald over to XG Gaming. Blue Squad rally. Now these neutral objectives firmly in their back pocket are really kind of impacting TE Abyss's ability to look for win conditions in this mid game. Because now, what do you do when you're behind and you already have Blue Squad Dragon stacking? Sure, they gave up a few kills to get these two, but the pressure, the tempo of the game is so darn accelerated. I don't think it's buying the space and time necessary for Hayam Jerky to cut back against the gold deficit that they currently sit at. And even Prim, the Corki, the champion that we were really worried about having impact in this game, now has their package, and they're looking to set up to go for this Hex Tech Drake.
You see Cassante, no teleport, has to walk all the way down, and you can't give this Drake away for free, right? That'll be sole point for XG Lightning, Yarko, and you know, you can see the setup already starting to come through. Ghost Burn.
Not a whole lot of tools for either side because the last big play, Kartana is trying to go for the 2v1 currently. Viper over the wall with the hook, though, is really splitting this fight. XG Gaming in kind of an awkward position. UP fires off the Onslaught of Shadows, gets the shutdown onto the Gwen, although Viper does die in that split fight. However, while Phoenix Flare is able to kill Elo Demon and hold on versus UP, this is still a fight that either team can win. Improvise getting poked low by Hayam Jerky, although Juicebox now has the space to start off with their curtain call. They have to disable it though, because that's a very angry case of it. Show off walk in their direction. Hayam Jerky able to cleanse out of the way of the Jin root. Improvise still less than half health, so can't really frontline. Prim tries to do something with their Valkyrie, but while they manage to take down the Jinx, now Show Off has a full health bar and they have the all out activated. They jump down onto the Blitzcrank and get the kill. Juicebox going to follow. It's a triple for TE Abyss's top side of the map, and as soon as XG Gaming find advantages, TE Abyss bring it back.
The 3v1 triple kill for Cassante. I can see why his name's Show Off, really living up to that distinction. Just knew that they were strong enough to take that 3v2 fight, and this could be the reversal of fortune here. TE Abyss desperately needed a dragon to be able to prevent the soul stack going on here, and are now right back in a game that they were not looking so hot in just a couple minutes ago.
You said this was going to be an even series, Yanni, and this is an excessively even game, number one. I'm so happy to see both of these teams throwing everything at the wall, but it's not really leading to the kind of snowball scenario that you usually see in League, right? XG Gaming, I thought, had enough of a gold lead right there to just kind of roll over TE Abyss, but Abyss knew that they had to play from behind. They had to attack that game smartly. So they split the fight. They made Kartana overextend, and then the top laner of their team, Show Off, was able to reset, come through, and make a big statement near the back end of it.
And we talked about how busted Cassante is, right? Like, and I mean, even into the Gwen, Cassante just had a very successful lane, has that mythic, which means this Jin's not going to do very much to you at all, and he's just so tanky overall, able to slow everybody up. And you can't escape Show Off once he set his sights on you.
All right, well, Show Off is brought to the party themselves. I think Improvise may have bitten off a bit more than he could chew there. I just noticed that was Everfrost Blitzcrank, and thank goodness it's Everfrost Blitzcrank, because they're able to use the root to buy enough time to use the Hex Gate to get over the wall into safety.
Yeah, that's been getting so much more popularity. Having the extra CC is just so strong on a champion that, you know, you get to set up for a pretty free Everfrost. Provided you time everything correctly, your opponent should never have an opportunity to flash away, dash away, or anything like that.
We are moving towards the Baron time. You know what that means, Yanni? Any more of those big, super committed plays that we've been seeing in the mid game are going to become all that more impactful. Already, Show Off is getting rooted up. Double path makers forward, though, although the needlework is whittling this champion down. That's something to watch out for. That's a full-on snip. KA7 Show Off. They held on for so long, but eventually they will be taken down. TE Abyss wants to try to force this fight, but now they no longer have a top laner. Although, you can also say the XG Gaming no longer have a jungler. This is Sejuani blown up. Kartana trying to deal with these 4 Red Squad members, and they will not be able to do so. XG Gaming are moving on to the Baron. Nasher and Corki all the way on the bot side of the map is going to have to teleport in if they want to stop this.
This is the second time you threw everything at Cassante. It didn't work the first time, but they decided to go again. But we could see, you know, the BOL Platinum Baron steals.
It's always a banger in the BOL, and we are ready for a steal. UP rushes in, they get blown up, and now Red Squad find themselves overextended and caught out inside the river. It's a quadra kill for Prim, and yes, Baron will be claimed, but it's by XG Gaming.
Prim heard you talking smack. Oh, I'm in the bot lane? Sure, I will TP over and take over that fight. He did, Prim, with a clutch play here for XG.
I cannot believe we are back to our regularly scheduled programming after such clean macro play from TE Abyss. Yanni, what in the world was that? They stayed for so long. They saw Prim teleport in, and they just did not respect the late game prowess of this champion.
We're not even really in the late game. Look, he's only got 2 items. He didn't have the Lost Chapter. He didn't have the Blasting Wand before that. But Corki's damage is just so strong right now. You saw what he was doing to them, just chunking them. Yeah, sure, they were all low, but, you know, 1 rocket was killing them. Like, they still had 300, 200 HP. It was just a really surprising amount of damage there that I don't think Abyss was expecting.
All right, well, now Abyss has to expect the warts on all fronts. That's Yuppie getting bombed by 4 members, Kartana getting the kill. I don't really think the needlework was necessary. Could use that tool for later, but regardless, this is easy prio for Blue Squad over the bot side of the map. Tier 2 tower already going low and getting sieged up. Improvise sitting over the wall, making sure that nobody can come through and defend. Jinx has to reset from the mid lane. K7 Show Off doesn't have the teleport up yet, and they're splitting. So now the question is, how are TE Abyss going to defend their base? This is going to be 2 towers going down alongside the inhibitor now.
And Yarko, Improvise can always hit a hook, and it can always end up being more if they want.
It's not about if they want, it's about if they can hit the hook, right? But I get what you're saying, man. Regardless, it looks like Abyss aren't going to push any deeper. They know that the Cassante is resetting, and there is a dragon to reset for. If they can stack up to 3 of these, I think that the Hextech Soul is very much in their eyes.
Absolutely, they have a big advantage right now, near 7,000 gold. And we thought this game was getting pulled back here by Abyss, and it was snatched right back out of their hands. Elo Demon just doesn't have the damage right now with the build that they've gone. They opted in to the Demonic Embrace. So yeah, while they're a little thicker than your average Vicar, it's just not, there's no damage. There's not enough damage.
Did you just call the Elo Demon Vicar?
I did.
I feel like we're both struggling tonight, man.
I was intentionally, because, you know, it's thicker. Listen, they're not all winners.
They're not all winners, you know.
Even
only one of these teams can win this game too. That's not
even Steph Curry misses a 3-pointer every so often.
Yeah, I guess we talk about the percentage, right, rather than any specific moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. You definitely hit with some of those puns, man. Gonna give you credit on that front. Premier has the package. They're just going to throw it down the mid lane. Jerky, so far away, yet still not safe. Pulled back by the Lantern, is able to get out of the way of the curtain call, but Prim blows up the victor in kind. UP's on the back end, trying to find something here, and PA7 Shop is pincering, but Kartana's coming through with a flank of their own. That stacked up in Tovo strikes and all. I'm not going to do enough to keep this Cassante alive in this game, nor the hopes of TE Abyss alive in this game either. Now, it's Blue Squad setting their sights on the tier 2 in the mid lane.
Prim with the big boy pants said, I want to end this game, and look at the teleports coming through into the base.
Yep, and that's going to be a shove for the end here. Prim, Valkyrie's forward, zoning away Jerky, who's getting blown up from miles downtown, is finally able to make it inside of the fountain, but they are so low, they won't be able to fully heal before the Nexus goes down, so they're going to have to make a play here and now. Viper pushes forward alongside the Elo Demon, but the Nexus is being focused, and XG Gaming go up a game.
That was a surprising end of the game there, New Yorko. I thought for sure that Abyss had a little bit left in them, but because it just decided Prim was like, hey, you know what? I want to go end the game. I see Jerky caught out here, putting a lot of damage on, starting an awkward fight. And this Sejuani was unkillable, man. Tanking turret shots, tanking Thresh, tanking Jinx, split the fight 4v3, and all of the damage was for XG Lightning, and a large majority of the damage for Abyss was not there. That was really the story of the game. So many times a fight would break out and Jinx was zoned or not around.
All right. Well, hopefully TE Abyss have gotten the giggles out. Their throw at Baron led to a lost game. And, you know, we've only really casted one per series up until this point, Yanni. So we have 4 games theoretically in front of us. Maybe we will see a little bit more restraint applied around there. And it's kind of sad to a degree, right? Because XG Gaming kind of threw at 2 separate neutral objectives, yet they don't get punished nearly as hard as TE Abyss does for trying to go for that Baron.
Yeah, and it's really just because of the team that they had, right?
Yep.
You know, like they have a strong enough team where they can try to do these things and they can dispense out enough damage that there are some low health bars on Abyss. Honestly, I just don't think that they were expecting Corki to teleport over. And once they saw it, you were right. They should have pulled off of it, tried to get it to reset. But, you know, at that point, you're kind of playing with fire because it could be taken by lightning. The only difference is you don't get wiped there. So I give them credit. They stuck with their play, but again, the BOL Platinum Baron throws are undefeated this season.
All right. Well, we're going to throw it to a quick break, guys. When we return, it's going to be the draft for game number 2 between XG Gaming and TE Abyss here in the Blue Otter League. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the BOL. The Blue Otter League is well underway. We are now in playoffs of the Platinum Division. We have XG Lightning facing off against TE Abyss. A second game running, SG Lightning is going to be on blue, and a second game running, they're going to be banning out the Rumble as TE Abyss fire right back with the expected knockout of the Milio.
Hey, that's the 1-0 XG Lightning to you, all right? Put some respect on their name. Taking a pretty tough game where they kind of got shellacked in that early game, right? Now they were doing a great job of keeping up on the objectives, but TE Abyss, their rotations were fantastic. So I'm really hoping to see some similar things like that out of them. I like what they did with their bot lane picks. I like what they had out of the jungle, but it just felt like the impact wasn't always there. And you can see already some adaptations coming through. That's Sejuani getting taken off.
Yeah, I like the fact that the Sejuani is denied here. Phoenix Flare did so much work on this champion, working as a thick frontliner that even the strongest, high damage members of TE Abyss were unable to work through. I think that part of the reason why that was the case was just simply the fact that Phoenix Farm mostly had to contend with K7 Show Off and kind of emerged as the really dominant member of the game. And, you know, it's kind of hard for Cassante to do that much damage, especially when you have a Kartana on the Gwen just running you down from behind. But now we're seeing a very different look out of the jungle of XG Lightning. That is a Kindred locked in, and TE Abyss are going to answer with the Lee Sin of all things.
It's a very surprising early pick to see the Kindred come out. This champion's gotten very popular in like NACL level play, you know, semi-pro play, and can really chunk people out, but you do need to play around your marks. Now, the good news is XG Lightning did not have a problem playing over objectives, and that's just one more objective to add, but TE Abyss, one, match that early game pressure with that Lee Sin. It could also be a lane Lee Sin. I know that has been picking up a lot of popularity as of late, but we'll have to see if that ends up going into the lane or into a jungle.
All right. Well, as things develop, we see the Jinx coming out again. The Gragas also coming through for XG Gaming means that we have big flexes on this side. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the wild places you could play the Cassante and the Gwen. Gragas is a little bit more actually meta in multiple roles, so I'm interested to see exactly where they decide to place them. And it looks like it's just going to be returned back to the Jhin for Juicebox, which I really do like. Yanni, I typically don't see this champion very often doing a lot of big things, and I very much am a Jhin hater on that front. But last game, it seemed perfectly placed alongside the rest of the composition, just able to fire away from so long down the range. You were able to impact Cassante, you were able to impact these very concentrated fights. And speaking of Cassante, we do get it back on TE Abyss's side.
Yeah, one thing we didn't really point out was that, you know, Quirky Rocket with Jhin W is really a fantastic combination to be able to pick people from very far away. And that is something that we did get to see a couple of times get pulled off. And, you know, if you're able to keep your AD carry safe like that, you're going to really have a fantastic time. So good credit. They kept the juice box safe. No puncture wounds from the juice box as they were able to survive that round of lunch. We'll have to see. You know, very close to actually just popping off, but just had a quietly good game.
All right. Well, we do have some interesting dynamics coming through from the second ban phase because the Blitzcrank is being denied. Obviously, XG Lightning is kind of going with an atypical drafting order with a high prio on the jungle and the flex for the Gragas. That does mean that's the Jhin all alone over there, and we won't be able to see a repeat for Improvise, which certainly did help XG's likelihood of like just coming around with the win that time. But I don't know if it really was the biggest pain in the side of TE Abyss. We'll have to see exactly what they want to do, though, to set up bot, because they have the blind pick, and they're going to go with a Leona.
I actually think the Blitzcrank was a very wise ban. There were a lot of fights that the Elo Demon just got blown up in due to a minor misposition or them being the one to get a pick started. So I give a lot of credit over to Improvise. They had a really fantastic game, and now they get to take the Thresh here to pair that up with the Jhin. It's a very similar pairing to Thresh Jinx, whereas Abyss, they've went a little bit more aggressive. Thresh can counter the Leona with these flays in lane, but Leona can be very sticky and can help deal a lot of damage.
I really do like the Leona quite a bit here. The Thresh, the Maokai coming through for Lightning, and that looks like therefore it's going to be a Gragas mid and overall a very beefy team composition to shore up the Kindred.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Maokai top. I mean, unless I'm seeing lane Kindred, there has been mid lane Kindred played in the past. Like I said, I'd be much more surprised to see that over like Lane Lee Sin, which we're not going to see here. But I mean, it's certainly possible. I would imagine that this Kindred is probably going to go to the jungle. Really, Maokai brings so much to a team composition, but I like this pick coming out of the mid lane here for Elo Demon. Give him something a little bit more mobile, especially against a Thresh and even like a Maokai who can get to you. Start getting that hard CC in right a little bit better than Victor's. The true damage going to work wonders this game against Gragas and Maokai as well.
Yeah, definitely the case. I like the Ahri a lot from the Abyss side of things as well. Catch potential is certainly going to be a big deal. I think that as long as you hit the Kindred, you have the ability to follow that up with a Lee Sin kick. It makes the Lamb's Respite a whole lot less efficacious as well. That being said, I am kind of surprised that we didn't see a Hook Champion come out for Abyss because of the fact that we have the Kindred. But, you know, that's often a very kind of narrow situation in which, like, you can get value out of denying Kindred R. So, makes sense overall. I think that both of these are very evenly matched king composites, actually.
Yeah, I am a pretty big fan of them. They also decided to pick Cassante into Kindred, which was fantastic. Somebody's very low and you just all out them out of it. You know, it's a pretty rough time. XG Lightning, they need to really make sure that their Kindred gets off the ground, as well as their Jhin, and that way they can have enough magic damage from Gragas and Maokai to be able to, you know, offset the fact that T Abyss is just going to build armor pretty heavily here. You know, Jhin and Kindred are going to be really difficult to play against Cassante, against Leona. These champions are going to stack armor to reduce their damage. So getting your jungler off the ground means that you have enough damage in your profile. And if you can't do that and you're just relying on the Jhin, it's going to be a problem. You're going to be too low of a damage composition to really do much.
Same time, Phoenix Flare has already proven in game number 1 that they are able to get fed. They are able to carry a team. We saw them with a really immaculate gank bot side on the Sejuani to start us off in game number 1, and they're just looking to continue that momentum here, man.
And you got me while I was taking a drink, but yeah. And that momentum, I mean, it was a big momentum swing, right? It was that Baron throw. T Abyss, it might not be feeling too hot right now. It's not like, oh, you know, we just barely lost the game. It's no, we had an advantageous position in that game. We threw at the Baron. We did not learn from the Platinum teams of the past. These players really need to watch other streams more. You know, watch other BOL games go on so you know to avoid the pitfalls of what the ones who have come before you have done. T Abyss falling into that abyss. And when you go down 1-0 in a series, I mean, you know, it's stating the obvious, but it's much harder to go ahead and come back and win. You know, you have to win 3 out of your next 4.
Yeah, when you put it in that kind of light, it means that TE Abyss really need to reverse momentum as soon as possible. I don't think that we've had a reverse sweep in BOL in the past 2 seasons, at least from what I've casted. And that's a scary proposition to try to cut up against, especially given the fact that you have a really, really strong team in XG Lightning, able to make great macro plays and adjustments on the fly. We saw them overextend twice in game number 1, but it seems like immediately after that second time that they tried to go for a fight around that Rift Herald, they learned their lesson and they really started stacking quite nicely, and they overemphasized to a degree that vision control. And that's actually what allowed for them to spring the trap on TE Abyss and that kind of fight around the mid lane. And that was the first one that XG Gaming actually won and brought them back into the limelight.
Yeah, and you know, taking a look at these compositions, I'm reminded of the early game of game 1, where there was a lot of roaming to be done, a lot of pick potential due to the CC that was available on both teams, and you're seeing it again right here. You know, this Gragas can roam around, hit a body slam, stun somebody. Thresh, obviously going to roam around. Maokai going to be able to roam around. You know, now the CC profile is not coming out of the junglers, so it does mean it's a much more imperative that these laners are getting advantages or getting priority to be able to move around. But when you look at Abyss, it's the same thing on their end, right? They've got Leona to be able to fill that role that Thresh does. They've got Cassante who can kind of fill the role of Maokai. And then Ahri, of course, that can match Gragas in terms of CC with your hyper carry, AD carry, and your damage out of the jungle. These compositions are essentially the same with just different champions.
A new coat of paint for both of these teams. TE Abyss also just looking to turn around the course of this series, while XG Lightning are just looking to make things strike twice here in their favor. We're going to throw it to a quick break to wait out the rest of the spectator delay, but when we return, it's going to be for game number 2. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the BOL. The Blue Otter League Platinum Division is well underway. We are in playoffs, in fact. The next G game is facing off versus TE Abyss. Try to increase their chances of making themselves champion. They have drafted quite the composition. That's Phoenix Flare on the Kindred. TE Abyss are looking to bring the series back from the brink. They're currently down one game, and they themselves have great cash potential and a lot of crazy champions that can express their skills and make a statement. UP already landed a Blueberry. They aren't going to write it on in, though, as that is Cartana there, covering them on the Maokai.
I hate that you called it a blueberry this past weekend because I just cannot see it as anything else. This is the worst. But interesting to note that Phoenix Flare has marked up Yuppie. So you never know. There could be some opportunity if one of the solo laners gets priority or even the bot lane, depending on if their jungle tracking is solid, they can go and try to pick up that kill on Lee Sin. And it would be huge to set this Lee Sin behind early.
You know, I always say if you're playing Kindred, you might as well pretend like you're like the Omega Smurf that you occasionally get in your games, where you just go for the constant invades, you just bully people off their camps. Even Lee Sin is not really safe from this champion if they get ahead of steam under them.
Yeah, especially since if you're able to use your little hop to dodge the Sonic Wave, you are in fantastic shape. Lee Sin cannot get to you. You can abuse your range and just come away with a kill, and it is smooth sailing from there. But we'll have to see how the Kindred Mark game shakes out. I'm sorry, the Blueberry.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's going to be a little while before we see anything crazy like that come out. The Lee Sin is going to be eschewing their Raptors and their Krugs for the time being and just looking to clear out the bot side. A lot of vision has been established for XG Gaming. They're going to know where the lead is early. They might buy a little bit of space and time, a little bit of luxury, in fact, for this Kindred and how they want to clear things out. However, bot side, not so comfy for XG as Improvise is getting ticked low by the Ignite Viper. Has to flash away, though. Jerky is taking quite a bit of poke as they try to get behind their wave again. XG Gaming actually coming out in front on that trade.
Yeah, it was actually pretty interesting. Improvise's Flay ended up being fantastic because Viper went for the Zenith Blade. So now Viper ends up behind Improvise, closer to Juice Box, which means more damage was going to be dealt out. You see a lot of summoners burnt there by the supports. AD carries just chilling out. They opted to go cleanse this game, so no love for the supports in the bot lane, sadly. No heals.
Yeah, Viper and Improvise going to have to just do it the old-fashioned way, neck those pots, see what happens from here on out. Both junglers are bot side of the map. We'll have to see exactly what's going to occur from that. Lee Sin a little bit behind on their clear relative to Kindred, who is going to go for the red buff last and then probably get mobilized into the bot side river. But Lee is going to, in fact, not return top. They just want to go in for a lane game.
Well, they know that bush is warded. It was pinged out, so they're doing a very good job, especially because Improvise moved here, which means that wave is going to bounce. So if UP wants, they could just sit there. We'll see if they catch out Improvise.
Yeah, Improvise is going to spot all three of TE Abyss's champions moving through the bot side river now, though. That's going to be the mark denied, I believe, as it did spawn bot side. Kindred is going to have to settle for the scuttle top side right now. Good mobilization there from TE Abyss. Good utilization as well of the priority that you get through the bot. We'll see if that's going to translate into anything as this game progresses. We're about a minute out from the Mountain Drake spawning.
Yeah, and that is really what you wanted to prioritize, right? You know, there's a question on whether or not you wanted to go potentially try to get first blood. There was an opportunity there, but I think denying the Kindred mark is valuable all on its own and much less risky. You can see Yuppie coming from behind here.
Improvise with another really heads-up flayback of Viper and company, and now the Leona's rooted up on top of a Jhin trap. First blood over to Juicebox in the 2v1, and actually the Jhin wants even more. They flash forward. They get a shot down onto I'm Jerky, who really just has to back off from this play. Respect the range of XG Gaming. Yuppie jumps out, but Jerky actually steps forward for the wave. They get knocked by the W. That's a huge Jhin.
This is why you can't dive Thresh. That Champions kit is literally anti-dive. Once he got so close to that turret, you cannot continue to progress. Leona only goes in. She does not go out. And they just handed that over to Juicebox.
And XG Gaming are out to a rollicking start. This is a huge advantage to be established at the 5-minute mark, and this is a clear indicator of a Blue Squad's priority. They can go for the Dragon now. I thought that this was going to be a TE Abyss-focused early game with the Lee Sin, but UP has already overplayed their hand, and they are behind on farm.
Yeah, and it's just going from bad to worse here for the side of Abyss. Although we could see a kill here.
Yeah. Yeah, things are looking grim for Prim in the mid lane, although the Gragas still manages to stabilize and get out. Doesn't even have to burn their flash. The Elo Demon went for the teleport instead of for Ignite. And because that is the case, you can't really get that last little bit of damage down. And now the Elo Demon might actually be overextended quite a bit. That's Phoenix Player wrapping into the mid lane to follow up on the death sentence. The Elo Demon barely has any mana, so they have to be super careful of staying within Wolf's radius. They do survive, but they will not be there to help Red Squad get the dragon, although XG Gaming seems to have no interest in venturing bot.
Yeah, and Elo Demon getting that little bit of extra damage to force Phoenix Flare back could have potentially made the difference between the dragon secure and not securing one, but we're seeing fighting in the top lane here. Show off starting to get low. Cortana with no mana.
Crazy to think that the Maokai somehow is having better trains versus the Cassante than the Gwen does early, but, you know, Tree Man is difficult to cut down, especially when you got the blunt instruments of the Ntofo, so Show Off is just going to have to keep hammering that top side of the map, try to get up on CS and stabilize through to the late game. Right now, they're up about 6 CS, but I think it's just because of the bouncing wave. The credits to the Maokai, it's a pretty tough champion to farm on, in my opinion.
Yeah, and, you know, luckily against Cassante, right, you do have your passive to heal up off of it, so if I'm going to take a rough trade, things will be A-okay. Improvise trying to make a play down here, but Yuppie waiting in the wings.
Oh man, they managed to catch all three within the flay, but yeah, Improvise had no clue that the Lee Sin was waiting in the bush right there. They try to initiate for Juice Box, and they get punished mightily for doing so. Props to Thresh, like that was a fantastic engage if UP wasn't there, but alas, the Lee Sin had to be somewhere on the map, and they just happened to be in that bush for the second time.
Yeah, Yuppie, the patience paying off that time around, just deciding to chill out. Improvise has to show up at some point, and getting one back is pretty big here for Abyss because Phoenix Flare hasn't been able to do a whole lot this game. It's really just kind of been a non-factor. It just has one mark right now, too.
What I'm really worried about is the fact that UP has been investing time to get these plays set up. And while that's all happening, Phoenix Flare is so darn fed. A lot of farm on this Kindred, and they maybe even be able to pick up a kill. Mark goes down. Phoenix Flare, in fact, will claim the kill onto the Elo Demon, and XG Gaming remain in the lead, up about 1,500 gold, if not a bit more.
Mark number 2 over to the Kindred, and everything about that play was fantastic. The improvised roam to burn the Spirit Rush really made the difference there. Prim didn't quite get the flash body slam, but managed to match Ari's flash, stay in range, and hit a beautiful barrel.
And now they're going to wrap up at the top side. Show Off tries to ghost away, but they're caught up by the Nature's Grasp, and they just do not have the health to contend with Cortana and company. Well, I do kind of wish that went over to Phoenix Flare for the second time. A really good pickup means that the Tree Man is totally stabilized top.
Yeah, and Yuppie finally made a move, so Phoenix Flare decided, okay, it's time for me to start making plays here, and has been all around the map, and now XG Lightning looking to secure this Rift Herald.
Got the rotations to do it. Improvises up here, and while that does mean that I'm Jerky and Viper will have a little bit of time to hammer away at this bot side tower, I don't actually know if they have the vision of the fact that the Thresh is so far across the map. XG Gaming might just get the most of the situation once again.
Yeah, and things looking very good for XG Lightning. They can really parlay this into some pretty big plays, and they're camping the Cassante now.
Cassante does have All Out available. Are going to Pathmaker forward, and while this is happening, the cross map does come through in favor of TE Abyss. They're able to dive onto Juice Box, and meanwhile, Cassante actually escapes for the time being. They're buying a heck of a lot of time with their ultimate, although Improvise has landed another death sentence, and the 3 members here means that this is going to be a tough one for them to live through. They try to get onto Phoenix Flare, they fail at doing so, and this time, the Cassante is going over to the jungler of XG.
And Phoenix Flare even gets the kill there, which is huge. Manages not to die. They're gonna drop the Rift Herald. They're ready to get first brick here. Pre-10 minutes, they're gonna give so much gold over to this conglomerate here. The question is can they continue to push for it? There's one left. Ooh.
And usually you say that the Jinx is the sniper, right? With the rockets and whatnot, but they are out-sniped here with the 4 chances Juice Box has at getting the kill, and they grab it up against I'm Jerky. Bouncing right back after the dive bot side. XG Gaming should not be winning down there, but they still are. Now they're up 4 kills versus TE Abyss, and the gold lead is firmly in their pockets.
Yeah, didn't quite get that turret on the top side, but Jin being able to get a kill after being dove on the bot side is egregious. It is just it's a big faux pas. It really is, because now all that work that you did to set Juicebox behind has been completely undone. All the attention that the rest of your team elected to give you to help you out, to make sure this guy's behind while trading your Cassante, is just gone by the wayside.
Improvise once again, not really respecting vision, and they are going to get blown up because of it. Solar Flare after the Zenith Blade means that Viper has the Wombo combo right there to get a kill over to TE Abyss. Gragas has to be thankful that Improvise kind of sacrificed themselves by walking even closer to that bush than they did. But yeah, that was a scary situation. TE Abyss will be able to probably move towards second dragon here.
And I really like that. And that is the dangerous thing about this TE Abyss composition, is that you do have damage coming out of the Ahri, this Lee Sin, and even Leona does a lot of damage for what ability she brings. So you can blow up a lot of these targets as pretty much anybody but Maokai, but this dragon about 3,000 HP, and these teams really want this one. It's a big buff.
All right, Red Squad trying to pull this out. Phoenix Flare going to just tumble over to the backside of this one, and now Red Team just has to respect the space bought by XG Gaming and their gold buff. They will, in fact, have to give that up and split the dragon stacking with XG, and now Elo Demon might be in a little bit of trouble. Nature's Grass fired off from downtown. Doesn't quite make it over to Red Team, though, and that kind of makes Blue Squad's overstay here a little bit awkward, but Yuppie jumps in too early. Juicebox gets that kill. Viper just has to flash away back into the bot side river, and somehow XG Gaming has 5 make out like bandage.
Yeah, it's just Yuppie just deciding to pull the trigger when they knew they couldn't. They knew it was a 5v4 there. They knew Show Off wasn't going to be there. That's why they backed off of the Dragon. And giving XG Lightning just a little bit more at this point in the game is not something that you can really afford to do.
Improvise with a death sentence into the middle of nowhere, but you know, who cares? You still have fantastic setup with Phoenix Flare here. Hi, I'm Jerky going down, and I gotta say, Yanni, that is a 3-0-1 Kindred already at Kraken Slayer. I think that XG Gaming have gotten exactly what they needed early.
Yeah, and now that's a 4-stack Kindred, by the way, and you know that is the big power point for Kindreds. Phoenix Flare has just been all around the map making plays, and is a large reason why XG Lightning has such a huge lead 12.5 minutes in.
Yeah, and while that is a PowerPoint in favor of XG Gaming, that is a Google backslide for UP, who's just so far behind at this point in time. No CS, no real KP either. They're at 3K gold versus the 5K of Phoenix Flare.
Yeah, it is becoming a problem here, and we did talk about this. Now, we thought that Phoenix Flare might scrap with UP and cause this problem, but, you know, UP just has not been able to make as many plays as Phoenix Flare. The tempo has all been for Phoenix Flare, and they've been willing to give up certain things, just like that Dragon that we saw a couple moments ago. UP has given up on some plays, has settled for some plays, as opposed to really going for larger, impactful ones. And, you know, 2 levels behind now. Phoenix Flare is just so far ahead, and make it 1 now as UP just was able to smite a camp. You know, you do not want your Lee Sin behind. That is almost assuredly a loss when that happens.
We have a little bit of a lull state, so I think it's time that we take stock of where everybody is in terms of their itemization. A lot of mythics have come through. Elo Demon having 2 kills has already gotten themselves not only a relatively highly stacked Dark Seal, but also the Everfrost and Shoes. That's going to be a big deal. I think that that is one of the places you need to focus on for TE Biz to get back into this one. My question to you, Yanni, is what exactly are we looking for in Kartana's inventory? Is that Abyssal Mask first?
It looks like it could be trending
why?
toward that Abyssal Mask. I guess it's to accentuate their already weak amount of magic damage, aside from Gragas, who is building a fairly large amount of damage here, is opting into that Lunes instead of that Rod of Ages like you normally see them do. You know, who knows? Maybe Kartana would even go into a Rod of Ages. Hey, listen, I doubt it, but I mean, it is on the table. I mean, everybody wants that Bambi Cinder, though.
Yeah, right now, because they did invest for the bombies, they aren't quite at Mythic, so their kill pressure on the show-off isn't great, but Phoenix Flare is here to try to make it a little bit better. We haven't even seen the Lamb's Respite used. It might finally have to come out here if they want to go for the dive on the show-off, which is definitely possible, but a Pathmaker away means that XG Gaming is going to respect the space that show-off has bought for themselves. And then you need to deal with the fact that bot side, once again, Jhin and Thresh are getting pretty heavily pressured, and Prim mid lane's also in quite a bit of trouble. There will explosive cast to buy themselves some space. Phoenix Flare is wrapping in. in. Body slam
Oh,
places with the Ari and the Lamb's Respite. Saves the Fat Man. Big plays from XG Gaming to keep Prim alive.
that was so smooth there by Prim, and then Phoenix
Yep.
Flare to come in with the big save. But again, you lose a lot for going after Casante. Hey, he just seems to be a magnet for everybody to go after, but you lose a turret on the bot side. And now because of that fight that Prim took, you lose priority on the top side, which means second Rift Herald goes over to TE Abyss.
No teleport available for Prim, and instead of even going for the reset, they're just going to push out mid-wave, wanting to keep the utility of that Rift Herald as low as humanly possible right now. In fact, we could be seeing XG Gaming actually pick up the tier 1 tower, especially if we see the mass reset of TE Abyss. But no, Elo Demon will be back behind Jerky and company to make sure that we don't actually see the tier 1 fall.
And you saw the power of some mythics coming out right there. So you're gonna lie and wait for somebody else to come across, especially with this dragon up in 20 seconds. And it also being Hextech Drake. They're camping out here. They're ready for somebody to take this. And it's just the question is, who is the unsuspecting player that will? It looks like nobody will. And it ends up being very well scouted because a ward gets cleared out. But I wasn't sure if it's just because they forgot. I feel like everybody forgets that Hextech gates exist.
Well, that's also a mark claimed by Kindred, so it's certainly not a completely useless invade, especially prior to the Dragon. Now, so much priority is given over to XG Gaming that I think TE Abyss just have to look for the cross map off of Rift Herald to do much right now.
Yeah, I think you're okay with giving this one up. It's only one dragon apiece. It's certainly a rough dragon to give up, but just going to get more gold on the map will probably do them a little bit better in the long run. Heck, they can even push for tier 2 here if they manage to take this Maokai very low.
Yeah, we're in a situation where obviously Kindred is just going to go straight to the Hextech Drake and is so far away from the setup
she
top
soloed
side
it.
that I think you just have to sit there and watch the Rift Herald get the second charge. Kartana will hit the eye quickly enough to make sure that Show Off and UP can't go for like a deep dive or something like that. So utility is definitely gained by TE Abyss. That's priority setting up top to maybe help for a Baron Nashor in the future. But right now, the biggest obstacle for TE Abyss on the map is the fact that that's like a 4,000 gold lead over the XG Gaming right now.
Yeah, it's
3,000. I'm bad at math.
yeah, it's certainly surmountable though. That's the good news. The problem is TE Abyss hasn't done what they did on their third kill of the game, where they got that really nice pick onto Improvise. And yeah, of course, it's killing the support, which is a little bit easier because of the nature of their role. But that's not something that they have done a very good job of as the game has progressed, of clearing out vision and establishing some of their own in some of these key high traffic areas to be able to get a quick pick. They have that ability to do so with Leona, with Ari. We saw it before, but they really need to make one of those plays happen before it's too late.
I love Leona, but I will say compared to something like a Thresh or especially a Blitzcrank, your pick potential is lower because you typically need either really high range artillery fire or you need someone that can go over a wall with you after you land Zenith Blade.
I mean, Ari can, Lee Sin can. Like there
That is
are champions that can go over and buddy system it out. And if there's somebody there that you don't want there, Lee Sin can just kick him out.
That's definitely true, yeah. Hyphen Jerky might be in a little bit of trouble mid. That's Cleanse already burned. Improvise can't quite land the hook onto Ari to try to split a fight, but XG Gaming have clear priority here. Curtain Call being utilized to buy the Jin to just soften up some of these members, but now it actually looks like Red Squad wants to take the fight. Improvise kind of caught out. Juicebox follows up with them, but now they're up a creek without a paddle, and Elo Demon gets the cleanse pretty quickly out of the Jin, and now Super Mega Death Rocket blows that champion up. A huge source of damage now gone from XG Gaming, and with Improvise also falling right there, TE Abyss have found themselves a foothold in this mid game.
Fantastic flank by Show Off, able to get on top of Juicebox right away, and because Improvise was so far into the enemy jungle, the only way that Juicebox was able to get out was in the enemy jungle, which meant that Elo Demon had infinite space to work with to be able to take him down.
That means the tier 1 mid is going low, and XG Gaming still want to push because TE Abyss had them spread back out after that fight to go clear out these other waves. It doesn't necessarily mean that XG Gaming have lost a ton. In fact, Prim wants to make this a play back in favor of XG. They just body slam under tower, and while there isn't any follow-up and the Gragas does fall, Phoenix Flare eventually rotates over. Nature's Grasp is fantastic. Yuppie is all caught out, and that's a double-double for the Kindred, getting even more fed and looking like the real carry of this game.
And immediately following a fantastic TE Abyss fight is an even better XG Lightning fight into map movement. Now, Elo Demon is going to find themselves in a lot of trouble.
They were going for the flank. They're trying to find a pick into Phoenix player who was exceptionally low, but unfortunately, XG Gaming mobbed on up and walked into the jungle as a group. And that means Death Sentence lands, and soon we see TE Abyss basically slow wiped, and their timers are such that they're in a very awkward position to defend against this push from XG. They're going to be able to take some easy resets and come back with full cash outs before this next dragon.
And that's gotta feel really bad if you are a fan of TE Abyss, because XG Lightning has done a really good job of grouping up in, the mid-game team fighting phase, and that was one of the few times that they were really split, and Abyss was able to capitalize, and you thought that maybe, hey, this is going to be how they're going to stabilize, how they're going to find a foothold back into the game, and it all just comes tumbling down on them 20 minutes into the game. Now you're trailing by 4,500. A lot more kills go over to Phoenix Flare, now 6-0-1, doubled up on items. This Jhin is also now doubled up on items. That you're starting to hit the phase of the game where you might not be able to find a way back in now.
There's always the chance for us to throw out Baron. We've seen it before. We've seen deficits made up because of that. And it looks like TE Abyss with the teleport actually want to fight here and now because the chain kill potential is pretty strong with the Jinx alive and with full health. Here's the flank, the teleport over from Ahri to try to get to the backline, but now it's 4. We see TE Abyss get hit by a massive Nature's Grasp, and now Ahri is turned back upon. The box is splitting the fight beautifully. Kartana has gotten a little bit too deep though. Shoaf is going to be able to get that kill, but Viper is sniped by the curtain call. The Elo Demon has to try to get out of dodge, but they're so deep in the enemy territory, and now Improvise is looking for an angle back onto the rest of this team. Although the death sentence doesn't land, Phoenix Flare is still able to get everything that they want. That is Dragon claimed by XG Gaming.
He insects the Kindred into his own AD carry. Phoenix Flare, head full of fire, getting kicked right into Jerky with their arrow cocked back on the quiver and fires it straight into their face.
And even without the displacement, I think that TE Abyss were in a whole lot of trouble. But yeah, XG Gaming have accelerated this game beautifully. They now have Soul Point. They now have a massive gold lead. They could look for the Baron Nashor.
Yeah, and I gotta commend Elo Demon. It was a really smart move. Get on the backside. And XG Lightning did a really good job of making it look like they weren't ready for that. It looked like that, they were positioning in a way where they kind of forgot about Ahri, but as soon as Ahri comes right into vision, they all immediately turn on to Elo Demon. Elo Demon has to ult back away, and really it was which champions could the team handle first? And Cassante just did not go down. Jerky is just not at that point of the game where they have enough damage to chew through that massive health bar of Cortana, I should say. Sorry, and it just became problematic.
All right, well, XG Gaming did start Baron, and it is on Vision, so this could be a classic throw. We'll have to see how TE Abyss gets set up, but look at the front line that Kartana is able to provide. K7 Shaw somehow already at only half health. That's a Nature's Grasp. Elo Demon trying to flank once again, but the rest of the team is melting. Prim all the way on the back line. Body slams down onto Jerky. The box locks up the Ahri, and now they are caught out inside of the suppressive fire of the Jhin ultimate. It's a full-on ace. XG Gaming hold on, and not only that, they push to the 10,000 gold milestone.
Elo Demon has just had a rough game, man. Those Jhin traps just slowing them up, dealing so much damage. They were full health, got hit by 2 Jhin traps, and we're down to 30%. And this is all XG Lightning. They play team fights just simply better than TE Abyss. There's just nothing that Abyss can do. They've lost in all facets of the game.
It's an abysmal performance, I gotta say. TE just felt like they were from behind, even from game number 1. Here, we saw none of the crazy priority or the rotations that brought them to glory early in the first match. Now it feels like this is entirely XP Gaming series, and they're making a statement here in game number 2.
Yeah, and Phoenix Flare, the biggest statement of all. 10-0-4 on this first pick Kindred. When you're going to first pick something like Kindred, you better be damn sure that you are going to have an exceptional game on it. And Phoenix Flare rising to the occasion this game. A spotless scoreline, looking to just help XG Lightning close this game out and take a 2-0 series lead.
I was saying when you play the Kindred, you just got to pretend like you're the Smurf. Here's the thing, Yanni. I think that Phoenix Flare is just Smurf in this. Maybe not in a way that violates the rules, but metaphorically speaking, they are looking so dominant. Yuppie on a jungler that needs to get in under the Kindred just never really had any breathing room. They committed so long to these lanes to try to find some ganks. And yes, they succeeded in getting a kill here or there, but look at what's happened late. Phoenix Flare has just completely lapped the field in regards to their ability to impact fights. If anything, Yuppie has been doing nothing but kicking people the wrong direction and sending them to their deaths.
Yeah, it's just crazy how this game just devolved to Abyss, and you can see the curtain call come out. It's gonna hurt some people.
Yeah, and if it doesn't hurt people, it's surely going to hurt the base's defenses. That's going to be the inhibitor taken by XG Gaming. And TE Abyss probably can't stand to defend this. They have to wait to try to go for the Nexus turrets before we really see much of a fight. Although that being said, Prim just wants to start off things here and now. That's a beautiful body slam into explosive cast, and Jerky's caught out by the Nature's Grasp on the back end of that one. Show off completely zoned away because of the box, and now everybody is falling. Yuppie finally jumps in, but it's too little too late. Lamb's Respite activated just for the healing on the back end of this one. That's going to be the end of game number 2, Yanni. XG Gaming go up 2-0.
That engage was fantastic. Prim went in. The ultimate sure didn't hit the 2 targets that he body slammed, but managed to hit the Leona, followed with that Nature's Grasp, just hitting every key target. I'd love to see that combination come through. And an excellently played game by XG Lightning. And all of a sudden, Yarko, we find ourselves on match point, and we're not even at 10 o'clock Eastern.
And I'm shocked that this is what's happened to the series, given the fact that TE Abyss and XG Gaming were butting heads, going at it, staying even, not only in terms of the statistical count that you ran out for us, Yanni, but also in game number 1, the back and forth. But XG Gaming cleaned up while TE Abyss looked like they're stuttering.
And I'm not quite sure what they have to do in order to bring this one back. There's just too many things going wrong. I felt like their drafts have been A-okay, but, I think the jungle was a lot of the problem. And a big thing was this Leona did not roam around very much. We did not see Leona make very many moves anywhere. We didn't see either support make a whole ton of moves, but Thresh was in the top lane sometimes. But that one big move in the mid lane that resulted in burning Ahri's ultimate went a very long way toward Prim getting ahead. So need to see a little bit more movement here from Viper if they're going to play a champion like Leona.
And when you look at how TE Abyss needs to adjust draft and adjust their strategy going forward, you find them in a very awkward position where now you got to ban out a Sejuani, and you also got to ban out a Kindred just to deal with Phoenix Flare, and who knows what they have in their back pocket. This is looking like what could be a 3-0. TE Abyss going to have to pull off a miracle to bring out the reverse sweep or even stay just competitive in this series. They're facing down elimination, Yanni, and I really hope to see them bounce back. We're going to throw to a quick break, guys, but when we return, it's going to be for the 3rd draft of the night.
Lights out. Lights out.
Feel the thunder, shake the open ground. Won't give in, I'm fighting for the crown. Heavy clouds are way above my head, like all of my regrets and things I never said. Now got a feeling, shiver in my bones. Something.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division, and welcome to the third draft of the night. TE Abyss and XG Lightning facing off. TE Abyss has side swapped, but what are they going to do to swap around these bands to try to cut back against the rampage that Phoenix Flare has been on?
Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag here. They've gone with the Sejuani and the Gragas, two champions that had profound impact in games 1 and 2. The question is, are you really going to let them have Kindred again?
That's a good question, man. I personally would not let them have Kindred. I think
Unless
that
they
is a
first pick it.
very bad idea. TE Abyss do have first pick this time around. Maybe they're going to use it as a kind of coverage and denial, but instead they're going to use it to prio Milio. That does mean that, in fact, you can see Phoenix Flare return back to the marksman in the jungle role.
Yeah, and Melio's a pretty interesting pick, but it's such a hard first pick because you can play against stuff like this. Jarvan Rel going to make life really hard on the squishy enchanter.
Yeah, for sure. I don't necessarily think that Milio is the best first pick because of how responsive you could be in the draft against it. That being said, Rel's actually ages. Milio can't ultra mega fire kick you.
I couldn't even hear the rest of that. Are you okay? Are you still with me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yarko?
Hello?
Bro, he put on the sunglasses and he started disconnecting, but no, you are right about that. kind of kick back the rel, but how much is it going to do? But Abyss following up with a very in-your-face combo.
All right, I took the sunglasses off, so hopefully, my
Good call.
transmission from my face to the internet will be a little bit cleaner. That was not the way I was hoping to use that prop, but alas, we now see the screen in its full brightness, and my pupils are hating me for it. The misfortune coming through. This is something that we saw denied before, and I'm just kind of surprised that there was any amount of priority put onto this. But I guess that at the end of the day, it just kind of is a respect thing and a comfort thing, and so that will be a new look for sure for Juicebox.
And it's a really risky pick here, right? Because you pair it with Rel Jarvan. I mean, it's fantastic. You think of that combination, oof. But then you take a look at what's on the other side. Wukong, Fizz, gonna be problematic. If Abyss is gonna opt into a longer range AD carry, say like a Caitlyn or something like that, Elaine is gonna be difficult too. So Abyss does have some opportunities and some options here to be able to neutralize the misfortune in the laning phase. And if they play it right, they can do so in the team fight phase as well.
I'm just waiting for the Milio to like double shield himself and then run at the misfortune during bullet time to kick her with the Q. I've seen that happen before with like Katarina. I used to do it on Lulu all the time as well, where you just shield yourself and then run at them with W to like polymorph them. That's a dynamic that actually can be very scary to deal with. Obviously, Milio has to dodge getting hit by Rel's Crashdown or Jarvan's ultimate, but one can dream, especially as someone who's been playing a lot of Milio and is desperately trying to get to plat before this champion's nerfed.
And you can see XG Lightning respecting that bot lane pairing of Kog'Maw Melio. Saw it the other day. You and I saw that on the CLOL broadcast. And it was one of the stronger combinations. At least I think it was on the CLOL broadcast, unless I'm tripping.
I don't really remember.
I don't remember a whole lot about that.
Yeah.
I don't really either.
Yeah, literally a blur in my case, given all the production issues we had in the second day where the screen just melted on us like 5 times. But
I thought you were going to talk about the first day, and I was like, come on, I think I did just fine.
No, you did a great job, man. All I remember is you did a great job, but it's kind of like the Steph Curry thing. I don't remember the 3 points themselves. I just see the stats, and I see you're the best 3-pointer in the world, man.
You know it, but Tia Abyss, they went with that pairing. They went with a really strong pairing.
I think that it's a little bit overstated, actually. Maybe I'm crazy, but I also don't really think that Lucian Nami is great either.
Can we disconnect this guy? Hold on. I cannot disconnect you. That's unfortunate. That's sacrilegious.
I was halfway between you're either very angry at my pick or I'm having internet connections again, but it looks like it's more that I have very sacrilegious ideas about what's going on.
What do you mean you don't think Lucian Nami's that good?
I think that we overreacted to how strong it was, and after it got nerfed, I think that there were plenty of strategies to counteract it, and I think that it was prioritized for too darn long.
All right, I mean, I can understand that, but I mean, there's a reason why. It's because it was one of those really strong lanes that can match.
No, it's because pro players are boring.
No, it's because it could match the Zeri that needed to scale into the late game by just putting her behind, and kicking them so far down, in the dirt that they weren't going to be able to do anything. But we have a draft around out here, my friend.
That is true. Ken and the Lightning Squirrel and Sion on the top lane. I guess there's a little bit of flex potential. I actually could see Sion mid here versus
That's what I was
Biz,
thinking too.
And then you just don't do anything, right? I actually used to play this when I used to jam some Talia mid. I would flex over to Sion whenever they locked in an assassin.
What the hell am I hearing here, man? Like, you were just doing Elo terrorist-like stuff. But
how is it Talia mid Elo terrorism? The Talia support was Elo
No, you
terror.
said Sion,
Oh yeah, Sion mid, but Sion mid into an assassin
Elo
literally
terrorism.
blanks the lane,
It's
man.
pretty good. It's pretty good.
I
And
think we're
listen,
going to see it here.
That's better than the time that I convinced myself that Nami mid was the counter to assassins.
Oh, that's an interesting take,
It was interesting. Zed would ult on top of me, and as soon as I saw the animation, I'd bubble on top of myself and just kill him. It was great, but we do see Set getting picked up by Abyss, and that is going to be your big wild card pick because there are a lot of high health enemies that you can throw into the rest of their team, and there is that Kennen that you want to be throwing out of your team.
I was thinking for a second that maybe this was actually a lane Jarvan, but I think that this is the best possible look for XG Lightning in terms of aligning their champions versus what TU Abyss have done. And honestly, while I kind of worried about Lightning's chances of transitioning over to red side and keeping their drafting prowess about them, I think they did a great job here. But like you said, Set certainly is the wild card, although it is tempered a bit by the fact they're in a ranged match up top.
Yeah, we see locked in here. It looks like it is going to be Scion mid. Now, whether or not the teams elect to lane swap throughout the game is really up to them, and it's really hard to execute a good lane swap nowadays. But it is still possible. So, really talking about the possibilities of the composition, I really the one thing that I want to see out of XG Lightning, and I know it can be done, is early Jarvan ganks. These players pick Jarvan and they don't level 2 gank. They don't make them like they used to anymore. But if anybody is going to be able to pull it off, you know who's going to be able to pull it. Like, yeah. After going so hard in that last game on the Kindred, Phoenix Flare is going to be the one to be able to make plays on this Jarvan. Like, they seem to just simply understand how their champion should be played.
That's definitely the case. Yeah. It's kind of interesting that we're getting 3 very different looks out of Phoenix Flare here, given the fact that basically the formula of big tank and big AD carry worked for them. Now they're going for big ganker that's just looking to facilitate other members of the team to carry this time around. Let's see if they could do it for a 3rd time running.
Yeah, they're going to need to do everything they can to protect this misfortune. It's going to be uber important to make sure that Juicebox stays alive with that, with being very immobile. Now, the good news is there's no hard CC on the opposite team. The only CC that Juicebox needs to be afraid of is death.
That's certainly true. I mean, also Wukong with the Cyclone certainly can also be CC, and it also gets you very close to death, right?
It does. It does both. Get you a man who can do both.
Get you a man who could do both. Zed also has CC, so that's also another man that you could certainly get for that kind of role. Showstopper gonna be a big deal. I think it actually could get set out of a lot of sticky situations, or at least get TE Abyss deeply committed to fights that otherwise got initiated perfectly in line with XG Gaming's goals off the back of like Jarvan's Cataclysm and stuff. So that's also another reason why I think Show Off is going to be a big deal in this one. Not to mention the fact that they look like one of the strongest players on TE Abyss's side from game number 1. But Yanni, is there anything else you want to talk about here before we go to the spectator delay? Because I know I'm going to be spending most of the early laning phase talking about all my little things with Rel and Milio. I think these are 2 of my favorite champions.
Nope. This is going to be awesome. I'm excited for this game 3, and I want to see this misfortune pop off.
All right, well, let's see if that misfortune can be made to work here in the BOL Platinum playoffs, up against the deadly combo of Lucian Milio, which has finally made its way through the draft phase. I'm really excited to see if TE Abyss can bring it back, or if XG Gaming are on a 3-0 and continue deeper on into the bracket. We're going to throw it to a quick break, but we'll be right back.
turn like it's my fight or flight, like looking up at the sky. And there is so much more than meets the eye. And you said your life was black and blue, by keeping all the pain inside of you. I felt I wasn't enough. How can I call it hate if it's not love? If it's not love. And I know it's not perfect, but I'll try to fix everything we've been wanting, but it is what it is. When you don't act like you cared, and I'm left to clean what we bared. I will never understand why you did to treat me like I wasn't there.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Rift for game number 3 between TE Abyss and XG Gaming here in the Blue Otter League Platinum Division playoffs. Certainly is a lot of syllables, certainly has been a wild series so far. Red Squad, XG Gaming, looking to move S5, maybe trying to find a pick off of Improvise on this rel, who's moving through that vision pocket, looking for a crash down, get a flash, that gets one out of Jerky, and that Lucian will be down that summoner spell. The same can be said for the rel.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to tell who that benefits. Remember, Juicebox didn't have to go cleanse here, whereas Jerky is kind of forced into it. So you get the exhaust now for Juicebox, and Lucian can't exactly push as much advantage as you'd expect them to when paired with the enchanter like Melio, because you step up too far, you're gonna get engaged on, you're gonna get exhausted, and it's curtains.
And right now, I want to see XG Gaming immediately try to push this advantage even deeper, get into bushes, go for a big play. They will be able to get there before the minions come through, and Jarvan's starting top side, so clearly a lot of emphasis is placed on just shutting down Jerky early. That's step 1 completed, but can they get more?
And you can already see their posturing at this front bush. You know that Viper and Jerky have to have some idea that that's coming, especially when you've gotten that much map control early, and you see Jarvan starting on the top side, which means they will be going down. You see the engagement from Improvise.
Hex Flash into the mount up. Jerky taking quite a bit of poke, although Improvise actually gets pretty heavily hit back. And so therefore, that trade goes slightly in favor of TE Abyss and buys them a bit of time before Rel can go again.
Jerky is shook, by the way. Got ignited, there was no further threat of damage, and cleansed the ignite because they were that frightened. So now you can't even cleanse this exhaust when Juicebox has it.
One thing to note across the rest of the map before we inevitably focus back on bot, not only because I get to see Melio versus Rel, hooray, but also because this is going to be a dramatic lane, is the fact that we do see Show Off in the mid lane versus Prim. And so already Abyss has pulled off a lane swap rather than having to work on rotations, work on wave control, stuff like that. This makes the most sense, but we'll see whether or not the Abyss is a little bit off kilter because of this call, right? I don't know the extent to which the Elo Demon knows how to play the macro of top lane the same way that they do mid.
I don't like this swap for Abyss. I think they should have just sent Fizz into the mid lane. You see, Show Off forced the flash.
And Improvise is rotated up. That's another knock up alongside the Glacial Proc. Show Off going to punch a bunch of the damage back onto Prim, who's charging up with the Decimating Smash. Actually, not a whole lot of damage coming down, and that's a big set of resources committed by XG Gaming. Juicebox might actually be in a little bit of trouble in the 1v2. Jerky getting healed up massively off of the Milio's Cozy Campfire. Rel's coming back down, and alongside Jarvan, it looks like they're going to try to set up for a play, but Wukong's rotated in, and Yuppie is actually getting first mover advantage to start beating back against the Red Squad jungler. Phoenix Fair's in quite a bit of trouble. They don't have flash available. They can't get over the wall. That's actually going to be first blood claimed by the Abyss.
So many strange things happening in this game. But the craziest thing of all is how far Milio swung that fight with that Cozy Campfire. It just felt like Jerky stopped taking damage and started dealing a bunch of it. That is crazy. I recall they nerfed that ability too.
I mean, it was the heal as well, right, Yanni? So, yeah, Cozy Campfire is only doing like 80 healing or whatever, and it takes the entirety of its duration to do
that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, it was mostly just the heal. Viper will be down that tool. However, as you say, it stabilizes the fight, and that's super important.
Let's see, Yuppie kind of on the wrong side of the tracks here, but has already gotten a kill over Phoenix Flare. Now Phoenix Flare, is going in hot pursuit. Nice flash from Yuppie there, but punished for the over-aggression.
Nice flash, probably shouldn't have had to happen. And in fact, Improvise rotating up and getting the crash down means I think the Wukong's just dead. Traded right back. Karta not picking that one up. Show Off gonna get knocked up as well. Tries to face breaker, gets a big shield, not only from Viper, but from their own W. But while the Milio can flash away, the set's not so lucky. Top side of the map, Prim dueling with Elo Dima, but they can't quite land the killing blow. But XG Gaming, as in the previous two games, bounces right back, and they get a huge team fight.
And this swap benefits Lightning so much because this Scion's ultimate, sure, it's going to have some impact in mid-game fights, but you can do that from the top lane. Getting Kartana into the mid lane means they can move around sooner like that. They are able to provide so much damage in those fights, especially when they hit level 6. Meanwhile, Abyss, they've sent their best roaming champion to the top side, ensuring that there's no way they can impact the bot lane. That was a huge mistake there by Abyss, and they paid for it with that fight.
Yeah, now Show Off has just kind of lost a little bit of momentum, and once again, they are now confronted with a ranged matchup. I think that obviously the Scion's going to be hurting a little bit staying topside, but that's perfectly fine because once again, it isn't like they have a chance of dying to the Elo Demon barring some kind of crazy tower dive, and even if they are denied a bit of CS, who cares? Eventually, they're going to get to team fights, and they're going to work as a frontliner already. XG Gaming also able to get over to the Dragon, get this cleaned up for themselves. It's looking like Red Squad has gotten ahead early once again.
Yeah, and now Abyss is finally going to make that swap happen, but look at everything they're missing in the mid lane. So many minions that are just going to go unclaimed, and the good news for Elo Demon is that they do have a small CS lead, and really the good news for Abyss overall is that the gap is not as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, 6 minutes in, it's only about 1,000 in XG Gaming's favor, actually a little bit less than that. And the way that's kind of spread across XG Gaming means that there isn't necessarily like a massive power spike on one of these champions, but still, Abyss needs to try to snowball, especially this bot lane off the back of Jerky and Viper. And that's just not really happening. I think that the misfortune is actually brick walling the ability for the Lucian to exhibit kill pressure quite effectively.
This is strange. They're just continuing to swap, and I mean, this set is just kind of not able to really do anything, and now Prim is just able to free hit on the mid lane turret. Remember, I did say that it was difficult to execute swaps, and look at this. There's already 2 plates going down. So much gold here going over to XG Lightning, and they've got 1,000 gold lead just because of those swaps.
Yeah, loving it. Prim also just not wanting to duel with Show Off at all, just gets the fadeaway W put onto them, and that's perfectly fine. They've gotten all that they needed. They'll be able to sustain through the lane with the grass procs as well, regardless of the matchup. At this point, because of the advantage the Scion has gotten, it feels like they're happy going against either the Fizz or the set. And now,
oh my god,
who really has to be the one to try to balance left, right, and center. Bot side of the map, we see Yuppie trying to set up for something, but there is a ward there, and Red Squad is being pushed back towards tower.
Yep, and we see jungler coming through the bot lane, Yuppie once again, and then another lane swap by their team, and look at them go again. Oh man, this is weird, man. Like, and Elo Demon is actually starting to benefit here. CS leader It's just managing to catch everything here. 7 minutes 50 seconds into the game, 63 CS is much better than I thought. Look, he actually rushed boots. So
It's
he
actually the
can-
strangest funnel strategy in the game. They're just gonna give both top and bot over to Elo Demon. Although bot side of the map, you really gotta watch out as Kartana is here. That's a slicing Maelstrom going forward, Jerky going low, Cozy Campfire gonna heal them a little bit, and now with the culling, they're able to push Improvise back out of this play. Abyss managed to save themselves in the 2v3, but Kartana now has to make the long roam back up to the top. And while that's happening, they actually spot out Wukong in that drag pit. We're going to have to see what happens as Jarvan also wants to try to close in.
This is going to get really weird. Elo Demon has kind of found a fold here, and they could engage onto Juice Box if they want. Yuppie is going to secure the smite and hit level 6 as the flash over the wall. But look, Elo Demon hopped right on top of Juice Box. Left them
Viper
all
gets
alone.
the kill, though. That's a disaster. Fizz could have gotten the pick right there. Viper confirms it, unfortunately, with their passive, I believe. And now we're in a situation where that could have been the snowball that sets Abyss above XG Gaming. But no, it's going to go over to the Milio instead. And while that will shore up the bot side a little bit, you really kind of want this on the Assassin.
Saw that coming from a mile away in Yarko. I knew. I've been in that 80 carry in that position before. Now Sion in trouble.
Yeah, that being said, Crash Down from Improvise is enough to cover the Fizz, and Prim gets the kill right back onto Fishboy, and that's combined with a whole lot of priority in the mid. I think they're just going to stand there, take the tower. They might even just bounce FFs it, dies of a UP just to get some more plates, but it looks like they will play sober and they will play safe because they know that SG Gaming is rotating over to the Rift Herald.
Yeah, and because UP showed in the mid lane, they know that this Rift Herald is pretty free. A nice roam from Improvise here, and we're starting to see XG Lightning just making good plays once again, despite the enemy Fizz getting pretty strong, and they've largely kept the Lucian in check as well. 72 CS, but that's it. There's no kills or anything like that. They haven't converted anything, no assists either. They've really done a fantastic job of neutralizing this really aggressive lane that was expected to cause them some issues.
Here's the thing, though. The fact that Juicebox is on Misfortune does kind of mean that the Lucian Milio scaling is pretty good, and I don't think that the burden of Abyss is such that they really just have to smash bot. Obviously, it'd be great if they could do so because Lucian runs over games when they're ahead like that, but we even saw the Nami-Lucian combo kind of be indexed towards the mid game as the combo continued to develop over its lifespan, right? Now we might see a little bit of a fight here in the mid lane. Prim actually not going to have the Rel E dropped on top of them. They're going to wait until the Rel actually gets in with the Hex Flash to go for a fight, but Show Off is just going to Showstopper away. Might not be able to get out, though, as that Phoenix player riding on through with the Cataclysm. This might also be first tower with the Rift Herald in the possession of XG.
Show Off has lost so much from these lane swaps, has really been the biggest loser out of all of it. And now with a 2,000 gold lead, and again, you mentioned Rift Herald in the pocket, they could have bust down this first turret if they want. They can get that first brick, and you see the positioning for it, looking to zone off multiple members.
Yeah, Elo Demon was going for a flank. Kartana will be able to repel them for the time being, and now we have an isolated 1v1 on the bot side of the map, and Juicebox is certainly not in good shape on this one, just getting hit by much of the culling charges, and that will be a solo bowl over to Jerky. That's pretty darn good, even with Emilio roaming.
Yep, and you know what? Jerky doing a good job of making something for themselves there. Sure, you know, it's not that... It's like, okay. Oh, another fight coming in.
Massive Magnet Storm, the first one of the game, I believe, for Improvise, and that's going to be Yuppie falling very soon. A double-double for Kartana, and Hi, I'm Jerky, unfortunately, has overstayed bot after getting the kill on the Misfortune. XG Gaming, once again, they're pushed back an inch, but they answer back with a mile. Elo Demon able to dodge out of the way of the Decimating Smash, though, and maybe XG Gaming is actually overextending. Now, Prim does have their passive Hawk. Elo Demon at about half health, but K7 Show Off also in a lot of trouble. Improvise gonna push deeper. Kartana trying to find some charges, trying to find some stuns, can't quite get it, and that is the tower to defend Blue Squad. But the Elo Demon may have DC'd or something there. I don't know. They were just not moving around, and even if they're gonna get to hop, skip, and jump away from the cannon, they cannot do so from the bullet time from Juicebox.
So many crazy things about that fight, so many really good plays, but ultimately XG Lightning comes out on top. They've got the health bars. UP knows there's nothing they can do, and they're going to secure the all-important Infernal Drake with this team composition that is starting to become a multi-threat composition outside of just two. This Jarvan deals enough damage. You know, Scion's going to get there eventually. Does have Jack Show, which means that there's just nothing that anybody's going to be able to do. Look at the damage he does to Show Off.
Yeah, Prim just in such a fantastic position on this Scion. Show Off is going to have to give over some more plates to this champion that's been top, that's been mid, that's even been bot to help set up for some kills. Now, Hyam Jerky's in a little bit of trouble. Phoenix Flare's coming in. This is a 2v3, make it a 1v3, although the tower is here and making sure that UP can get some damage back. Improvise is taking a lot of shots, will fall right there. Viper's rotated in, the Elo Demon's coming through as well. Chum the Waters comes out, and that is an overextension if I've ever did see one. TE Abyss hold on, and they bounce back with gold going over to some of these big carries.
Viper doing a good job of knocking him back.
Yeah, Kartada gonna have to flash away after that. Elo Demon wants to jump in with the Title Trickster, but eventually the Fizz will have to back off as well. They know that the Kennen is strong, but Blue Squad's got what they came here for, right? And Yanni, this game has been opened up a lot more now at the 13-minute mark.
Yeah, it was a nice infusion of gold for Abyss there, and they're looking for more.
I think that they might be able to get it, although UP is going low. They're healed up by the Cozy Campfire, and yes, shutdown, and this time it is, in fact, over to the Fizz.
Yeah, and that's a dangerous place, because all of a sudden, Abyss, this Fizz, Elo Demon, has gotten a lot of gold in the pocket, right? You know, sitting at 1,500 right now, doesn't have their Mythic yet, but has 5 stacks of that Dark Seal, and everybody knows that Fizz is always liable to pop off. You can kill the Kennen, you can kill this Misfortune and get some of those easy, cheap kills and be able to get so much in the way of stacks. Look at how he waits for this Misfortune.
Yeah, the Fizz already with a pretty decent chunk of gold in their pockets, while the rest of TE Abyss is in a fiscal deficit. Not the Fizz, they are in a physical deficit. Sorry, I really tried on that one, man.
That was good. That was good. I knew it was coming.
Probably could have done it a little bit more cleanly, but
that's okay.
One other thing to focus on, though, is the fact that Prim is disgustingly fed, not off of kills, although they are 2-1 and 2, but off the amount of tower plays they got. They got basically all the mid and top, and that's about to be another tier 1 going down in Red Squad's favor if TE Abyss only keeps Show Off up there.
Yeah, Prim is 1,400 gold ahead of the next highest in the game.
Yep,
which is Elo Demon. It's a large amount. You see Elo Demon just barely able to survive down there, but it does mean that this turret could go the way of Juicebox and Improvise.
I'm shocked that they weren't able to get the kill onto the Fizz. I know he's a slippery boy, but like you would expect that with the amount of dive power that Rel has, especially with Magnet Storm, that you'd be able to get that last 100 damage onto the Elo Demon, but alas, Fizz will escape with their life, and now they're able to back for Luden's Echo. They got the boots, they got the stopwatch. They are looking to carry Abyss and bring them back from the brink.
Let's see if they're able to do that. This game getting into a weird state here, and Prim looking to start a fight.
All right, they're going to land straight on top of Viper, who's stunned up for long enough to have the Decimated Smash dropped on them. They get their ultimate out in time, but unfortunately, the pick very cleanly goes over to XG Gaming, and now TE Abyss are in a man disadvantage. They still want to try to push in and take this Rift Herald, though, but Improvise has their Magnet Storm available. That being said, they got to jump into nothing. They are going to activate their ult. They flash out of the way of Show Off, but they're chased down by Elo Demon and Yuppie, and now XG Gaming have overextended and overstayed. Jarvan is dead. Prim is mobbed up by 3. He's going to try to get a fadeaway kill. Kartana rushes in, but knows that he can't actually go for the man down fight. That's a double-double for Jerky. Abyss, they're bringing it back yet again.
And that's what happens when you fight 4v4. You burned your ultimates in that fight. You burned your big engagement from Prim, who is one of your strongest members. And now you just allow them to re-engage on him. I think Prim made a pretty big mistake. Walked up to the lane, wanted to get the CS, valued it over the Rift Herald. And, you know, Rift Herald still stands, but a lot of good kills for the Abyss there.
And while Abyss still are down on gold, they are in a position where they can take a load off. They can play reactively. And now XG Gaming, who may have gotten a little bit too full of themselves from Game 1, Game 2, in the beginning of Game 3, may start to feel the burn from their overconfidence and their overextensions. We could be getting a replay of what happened in game number 1 in regards to them just staying too long for some of these neutral objectives without proper setup.
It is the Blue Otter League special. Overstay for an objective. They want to pick up this Rift Herald, and they are going to without any resistance whatsoever. And this Dragon up in about 8 seconds, I do wonder if they're going to go after it, look to start a fight. They're down in kills, but remember, still up in gold.
They're leading the Conga line down into the mid lane, but this is big stacking from Abyss. However, they're spotted out, and they are engaged upon. It's going to be the Scion R straight into another Magnet Storm. Blue Squad mostly gets over the wall, but Kartana follows up with the Slicing Maelstrom. Juicebox unleashes their bullet time. Elo Demon tries to jump on top of them, but they are mobbed and taken down. Eventually, UP will get on top of the AD carry of XG Gaming, but they may sacrifice their life to do so. Shaw is caught out inside of the Cataclysm. They're stunned by the Rel E, and they're taken down. It's a near wipe. Vipers has to try to get away from Prim, but they are knocked out by the decimating smash, and TE Abyss are wiped at the 18-minute mark.
Huge play from Kartana, stunning multiple members, catching multiple enemies, buying enough precious space for Juicebox to grab their ultimate and spread out the fight. Elo Demon knew they had to try to shut down that misfortune from that ultimate just going off that fight. And really impressive stuff from XG Lightning. They have played the ultimate team game.
And now the gold lead has exceeded 5,000, Yanni. At the 18-19 minute mark, this means that XG Gaming can look to accelerate so quickly into the mid and late game by getting themselves an early Baron. It's only going to take a pick or two, maybe another team fight, and TE Abyss are going to be hard-pressed to get any of those in their favor.
Yeah, and Abyss doesn't really have the scaling on their side, right? When you think about it, there's only a couple of members this Fizz can blow up, right? Like, you still have the opportunity to blow up Kartana. That has to be your first target. He does not have a stopwatch. You can go after this misfortune, but they wouldn't Collector first. It's not like they're doing anything crazy here, but any other target, you're going to have a really hard time trying to take them down, especially this Scion. So it's become really problematic. Elo Demon does not have the numbers to assassinate anybody, right? Like, it's just those two members, and all of a sudden you're on the back line totally alone because of the zoning power from XG.
And then we have this kind of handoff and carry power in the last team fight where UP is actually the one getting relatively fed, and the Elo Demon has been struggling to get damage through onto champions like Prim, like you're talking about, Yanni. And because that's the case, now Prim can probably more justifiably just fully stack towards armor. They're going to get enough MR just from the Jack show that they can deal with all the remaining members of TE Abyss very effectively. And already at about 2.5 items, I think that we're at a situation where they've already kind of tipped the scales into unkillable territory.
Yeah, I mean, you saw in that last fight, they didn't even really need to do all that much. Like, obviously, it made a lot of people scatter, but, I mean, Prim was just chasing down Viper there. Like, that is complete flippant disregard for the fight, because you knew that your team was going to clean up the rest of it. And you can see, they're just starting the Baron up. They know they have to do something. They're feeling desperate despite down only 1 kill, and you know what's going to happen here.
I'm not even going to call this a Baron throw because of the desperation in the air. TE Abyss gazing down at Oblivion, desperately trying to make something work. They will back off from the big purple worm before XG Gaming fully rally. I think that maybe they were trying to force the teleport out of Scion or something like that, but Prim has called their bluff as well, right? He's just continuing to smack away at the tier 2 tower bot side of the map, and now K7 Shaw is the one dragged down here. This is terrifying because now Red Squad are going to take their turn with the Baron Nashor.
And Shov's going to start a fight only half HP. You can't do that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the point of this is. He's trying to hammer away at Prim. He manages to dodge out of the way of the decimating smash right there, but unfortunately, Elo Demon cannot dodge out of the way of Improvise with the crash down into Magnet Storm. Phoenix Flare gonna get the pick. Prim continues to pressure the bot side tower, and meanwhile, the rest of Abyss just have to back off from the Baron.
That was tilting if you're set. Just getting a minion screamed into you and interrupting your recall. And UP wants to try to find a way in, but Kartana running point, deciding this is how we're going to win the game, and Jerky doing whatever they can to try to kill the Scion.
Yeah, I like the fact that they're trying to cross-map, just giving up on trying to contest the Baron at all. That being said, I don't know if they actually get out of this cleanly. Prim is going to have their passive popped, K7 show off, already making it over to the blast plant. So yes, they will in fact be able to get one and deny the Baron buff very notably from the Scion. But XG Gaming have so many tools and so much gold now at their disposal.
Yeah, and one of those tools is Baron suited up in purple sans Prim, but he's got enough purple out of that Jack show that doesn't really mind it too much. Over a 1,000 gold lead 22 and a half minutes left in the game, or into the game, I should say.
Yep.
It looks like this is going to be pretty free for XG Lightning. They haven't had very much trouble trying to break down bases. They don't really have that much siege, but when you have this much engage, it does not matter.
At this point, you would need probably 2 back-to-back throws where TE Abyss basically lose nobody in a trade, right? You need full-on aces to get Abyss back into this one. Shutdowns are definitely on the table, as are objective bounties, but where are you finding space on the map to move towards these towers or towards these dragons when now, especially with the Baron Nashor like you're talking about, onto 4 members of XG Gaming, none of these waves are going to be pushing.
Yeah, you're really not. And one of the big issues is that Prim has just picked up their hull breaker. And Viper in a lot of trouble there. Cartana gonna go golden, as in, you know, Elo Demon can't kill him now either.
Yep. A lot of abilities burned prior to another dragon spawning up in about 23 seconds for Abyss. I think XG Gaming get the favorable trade on that front, even with the stopwatch gone. It's heartbreaking to see this be our last game between these two because, Yanni, you were mentioning it before. There's a whole lot of evenness to be had in the stats between these two teams and their stories, but here and now it feels like SG Gaming have found everything and TE Abyss just don't have the mental to keep up.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, you know, what the difference between these teams are. You know, like I said, like the differences were very minute, very minor. But really, XG Lightning has just played a cleaner game. I thought both teams' drafts were pretty excellent, but I think a lot of it has to do with the early plays from XG Lightning have just been so much better in this game.
I'm just wiping out my brow. Thank God the Milio-Lucian didn't work out, or I'd be eating my wards from the draft phase itself. Elo Demon in a lot of trouble. They have the bullet time shoved on top of them, and while they flash away from the initial engage, they can't get out from under the Misfortune ulti. And while this is all happening, Prim, a lone army in the mid lane, is smashing down the base of TE Abyss. Set's desperately trying to split push to try to get an objective bounty back, and Yuppie is looking for a desperation steal, but now both them and their clone are caught up by the Magnet Storm. They try to Cyclone. They try to get into the pit, but Improvise is just gonna pop their E, get the kill. That's another dragon. In fact, that is sold over to XG Gaming, and this series looks about wrapped up.
Yeah, and Prim pushing all the while. Turret still standing, but not for too much longer, as that one's gonna go down. Inhibitor gonna be the next target. An objective bounty has been traded back, so only down about 9,000 gold, but a Viper not long for this world either.
You know, on CeeLo broadcast, everybody was clowning me for saying 10,000 is like the point at which, like, I think it's like a 1 in 1,000 chance that you come back. I still stand by that. That doesn't mean that like 9,000 gold is super easy to bounce back from, right? Like
nah,
said,
bro, it's a 1 in 9,999, man.
All right, well, let's see if TA Abyss can make it happen, but I think it's mostly on XG Gaming just running it down. And unfortunately, Elo Demon is just not respecting Vision at all. They kind of given up the ghost here. They try to title Trickster. They do manage to get away and actually kind of break the ankles of XG Gaming, but unfortunately, ankles mean nothing when you got a Cataclysm right there for Phoenix Flare to play off of. Elo Demon goes golden, but they have no health. They will be able to jump over the wall. Phoenix Flare is going to follow. Show off trying to cover the bases of the Fizz, but they cannot quite do so. And now, look at the pain train coming through with Prim leading the way as the conductor. Here's the slicing mails trying for Cortana. Jerky's blowing up, and it's just minute after minute of unrelenting slaughter. XG Gaming have made their mark in this series.
And this is just wondrous to watch. You can see the push come in. Sion gonna deal a bunch of damage to these turrets. This is it. This is it, Nyarko. XG Lightning are going to complete a 3-0 sweep of a team that we considered on the same level as them. And Nyarko, I have to ask, are XG Lightning one of the better teams? Nay, one of the best teams in the league?
They may be. I mean, they've already made it deep into playoffs, and we have some more league to play, yes, but when you're this late into a season, it means so much to not only have a victory in a series like this, but Yanni, to have a clean sweep speaks volumes about your capabilities. They are ones to watch going forward.
Absolutely. When you can clean sweep a team that finished with the same regular season record as you, with the same very similar game record, that you have similar stats to, and you just demolish them like that, it is a shock. That is just something that is so surprising that it was that far apart between those two teams. And I mean, this has to be one of the tournament favorites now. This is a team that at 5-2 now. I mean, if there were any teams above them that disrespected them, you can't, because look at how they laid waste to a team that was considered even strength.
And I think what scares me the most about the power that XG Lightning displayed here, Yanni, is the fact that we saw very different looks out of their teams from game to game, particularly from Phoenix Flare. They went from big tank facilitator to big carry to fantastic early game ganker, and every single time they popped off 8-4 and 12 on a Jarvan, man, you don't see that very often. You're usually sacrificing yourself for plays, but they knew exactly how much to push, and that meant that as a whole, XG Gaming remained relatively safe throughout the entirety of that match, and TE Abyss were just laid waste to.
Yeah, I got to give that MVP to Phoenix Flare. They played a fantastic series. Nothing to take away from the rest of their squad. The rest of their squad played a damn good series, but Phoenix Flare just on a different level this series and really willed their team into the next round.
All right, well, we will see XG Gaming again. Be sure of that. TE Abyss, we will have to bid a farewell to for this season. They put up a fight, but unfortunately, they just cannot make anything happen in those games. They will be back, I'm sure, though. These players have made statements. They had a fantastic run in the regular season, and, they pushed through the BOL bracket in their own right. So, Yanni, we definitely have to thank them for what was a really, really fun cast today. Thank you so much for being here as well, covering for Shibby. He will always be in our hearts and always be on the Rift whenever he's
You
feeling
act
better,
like he's dead.
He's basically dead because, I only ever get to talk to you guys through casting. So, he'll
You
be
can just
back on the
talk to
break.
us whenever, man.
I know. It's just hard for me to do so because I'm like basically always casting.
True. Totally understand that.
All right. Well, no,
Big
I'm
mood.
sure that we'll hang out again. I'm sure we're going to be casting again as well. We at least always have the Wasia posting that you guys should totally
Oh,
check us
yeah.
out through.
Yeah, you
But,
should check us out an hour before BOL starts on Tuesdays. We actually cast a high school league. Yeah, one of those 80 carries is D2, and he's pretty good. Like, for a high school player, he needs a little bit of work, but that dude might make something of himself in the league scene.
should have DM'd him being like, hey, have you ever thought about playing for the BOL, man? Because I think that he would bring some spice here.
Honestly, true. I do think he needs some work, but you know what? Maybe we should start recruiting him to these teams. And like, yo, dog, listen.
We get fired for Wasia sniping people. Whatever. We'll figure out exactly what our program is going to be.
It's not a snipe if he plays on Mondays.
That is fair. That is fair. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, once again for tuning on in. Make sure to drop a follow for the Blue Otter League Twitch. Make sure to drop a follow at our Twitters as well. Yanni always has great discourse, although he refuses to like my eyebrows to your
Absolutely not. No,
the champions have good eyebrows, man, and I have many thoughts on them. So if you guys want to hear about that, follow my Twitter. Actually,
No.
that's a horrible advertisement. Nobody's going to follow my Twitter now.
No, do not look at his eyebrow post, please. Oh my god, it's so bad.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a good night.